wat eensaam, met lyding en hoop, verdriet en saam staan jy staan. Jy is altyd daar. Dit wat ons doen, ons liefdes, ons vreugdes, ons plekke, ons thuisdes, tot daar waar ons reis, jy is daar. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Al verander straatname, al word helde laat val, ons is dit, stuur ons arm, ons kultuur, ons verhaal, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Ons is daarmee gebore, die taal waarvoor ons staan, dit vloei deur ons are, ons kinders praat het saam, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese, dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is. Dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, en Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense. Afrikaans vir my mense. Afrikaans vir ons mense.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, goeienaand. Sawubona, South Africa. This is Chris. Welcome. How are you all doing? Good to see everybody there. Welcome aboard. Thank you so much to Jezelle and to Johan for that stirring music on the welcome was in. Für uns Mensa. Ja, die Taal is in ons Blut. Botswana, Dumalang. Folks in New Zealand, Kiwis, how you doing out there? Guten Abend auf Deutschland. Salve in Italy. Servus in Österreich. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Good to see everybody here. This is Chris coming to you live from Central Pennsylvania on the Stray Voltage call-in show. And today we're going to take calls, assuming all goes well. We did a test this morning, had a large number of people turn in. Very grateful for that. It went quite well, I think, those who were here. And so we're going to take calls. The way we do this, at least for now, as the rookie here gets accustomed to it, is that if you want to call me, what you need to do is you need to go to the Skype, and that address should be down at the bottom of the video to let you know. Let me double check and make sure it's in there. And I don't see it there. It should have been there. Okay, well, let me just put it in the chat real quick so everybody knows what it is, and then I'll do it periodically. So this is the Skype address that you want to call. But don't call, send a text so that I can take calls, and I'll take them in the order that they come in. All right. Well, before we get started on that, let's see what folks got going on here. Let me say hello to everybody. I'm going to take the earplugs out. It's easier for me to listen to myself with them out until I get a call. So Hank said he mentioned me to Big Daddy Liberty just now. He acknowledged it, and he wants me to send him an email again. Okay, Hank, sure. What do you have to say? Drian, welcome. Christo, Renand, friend, good to see you. Good evening to all our friends around the world, ladies and gentlemen. Gentlemen Inflatables, indeed, it is a lovely song. Jezelle, amazing stuff, good stuff. So, for those who don't know, this Saturday, the 6th of June, yeah, would that be D-Day? Yeah, that'd be D-Day if I'm not mistaken, the 6th of June, 2020, as we celebrate D-Day in Europe in the Second World War. We'll have Jezelle and her manager, Johan Yssel, on here for a live stream and be taking the questions. Now, I'm kind of springing this on them now, but I was going to see if I can't trick Jezelle into performing a song when she comes on. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I want to put her on the spot, but we'll talk more about that. But and Johan says they're looking forward to it. Hey, Brett, good to see you here. So it's not just that side of the Atlantic, also folks here from the States tuning in. Thanks so much. Yanni has already sent me a message, a smile. So I guess we're going to try Yanni first, or is that actually Reese in disguise because using the same PC? I bet that's what's going on. Bite Your Anchor says, how's it? Who else we got there? Sean, good to see you. Just for clarity's sake, those who watch Ronaldo's program, I must say that I'm hopeful, and I'm not going to talk about Ronaldo host tonight, just so you know that. Apparently my Afrikaans G pronunciation is not quite up to standard, ladies and gentlemen, but anyway. So just having a little fun there. Hope that didn't set anybody off or trigger anybody, but I'm hopeful. Hopeful. I always thought that I did a pretty good job saying Hutfontein, but I guess I must be getting that wrong too. Anyway, now somebody's calling here. It's probably spam callers. Wonder what they're up to. Anyway, so there's Lezan. Good evening, Lezan. Slot. Corvid. I thought that said COVID. Good evening, Sean. Okay, lots of folks tuning in. Good to see you guys here. All right. Oh, well, Blues Pixie said that's much better. Okay. All right. So next time I'll make sure that I put the head movement into it, so I'm hopeful. Anyway. All right. So let's see. Today we're going to take some calls. Lizanne is still awake. Not Lizanne. Lynn. Yeah, Lynn and I were chatting earlier. Lynn, I sent you a message about that other stream. It's back. It's there, so you should be able to see it. There was a question on that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today is a somewhat brighter day for folks on the continent of Africa. And around the world, because apparently COVID-19 is over. It was a big hoax. And if you don't believe it, all you have to do is watch the mainstream media in the United States, because apparently there's no such thing as COVID. COVID-19 is over. We have nothing to worry about. We're allowed to gather in the streets and chant and cheer as we do undocumented shopping. Yeah, undocumented shopping. You know that, right? We call it looting, but it's also known as undocumented shopping. So apparently it's like undocumented aliens. They're not criminals, they're undocumented. So our shoppers undocumented. Apparently they're not leaving their credit card receipts or leaving any cash behind for the goods that they're picking up while they're breaking into these businesses. But the undocumented shoppers out there are allowed to go about their merry way in metropolitan cities across America, because COVID-19 is just a big hoax. It's over, ladies and gentlemen. So a month ago, when business owners and patriotic Americans marched, maintained their space, went to state capitals to demand that government lift these sanctions and impositions against our liberties in contravention of the United States Constitution, they were troublemakers. They were jeopardizing our health. They were dangerous criminals. Kind of like those dangerous people in South Africa, the ones that sit on a beach. You got to arrest those people. And the guy surfing, he's very dangerous too. But apparently COVID-19 was a big hoax. It's not happening. It's all over, at least according to the news. You wouldn't even know it happened. Now we've descended into a situation of institutional racism here in America, which apparently is more dangerous than COVID-19. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, PP, good to see you there, Hank. Right, Hank is saying biggest hoax of the 21st century. So far, it looks like it might turn out to be the case. All right, Lynn says, so I'm not going to get arrested. Oh, now, Lynn, is that for the things we were talking about yesterday when I couldn't get the mic to work? All right, just kidding. All right, so and Sean says, we call it expropriation without compensation here in SA. There you go, there you go. All right, so I think that Yanni is on here, but it's actually going to be Reese. Let me see if I can get this to come in. Okay, all right, let me see if I can get this, okay? You guys hang with me a moment. I'm calling Yanni's number, and I think it's going to be Reese.
Hey.
All right, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see you guys yet. Oh, Reese is. Hey, there's Reese. Oh, okay, hang on. Let me get these guys on real quick. Oh, now Yanni, this is false advertising. You told me it's just going to be you. All right, all right, hang on. We're going to bring these guys in.
Out of the scene.
Hang on, guys. Here we go. All right, here we go. All right, so Okay. Whoa. You guys are big. I'll make you a little smaller there. Actually, since there's two of you, I'll make myself much smaller. All right. Can you guys hear me, Yanni?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can.
yes, we can.
And even better, I can hear you. So,
Here we go.
all right. Actually, what I'm going to do is
Sure.
I'm going to put myself in a corner here because you guys got a big, cool screen, and this is about the call in there. So is that a unicorn and a Viking over the top of you two guys?
That's
Yep.
us.
All right. That's awesome.
And
Hey,
obviously
Reese?
from Ronaldo's stream earlier,
Hello.
you know that I lost. So
Yeah. No, well, in the spirit of solidarity, I'm not wearing purple, but I did put a purple T-shirt on underneath here. You probably can't see it; looks blue. That's for Reese.
Yay!
All right, okay, folks. Hey, so welcome in. Here's Yanni and Reese. How you guys doing today?
Good.
yeah, we're doing good.
So, what do you, are
Day
you guys?
69 of lockdown, I think. Is day 70?
Is it 69? Oh, that's strange.
Yeah,
So,
it's
are you guys hot full of lockdown or what?
I don't know. I'm enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it. We're very much homebodies, so I don't think. No, we actually quite enjoy being at home.
Yeah, she's had 2 months leave at the moment, but because
2
hairstylist
months.
is not able to work. But yeah,
Yeah, I do miss my clients and my, job and everything. But yeah.
So, Reese, that's what I want to kind of ask you about, if it's okay, if you don't mind, about your business. Do you own your own business, and do you have people that work for you, or how's that work?
Yes. I have my own. I've got a partner as well. So yeah, but do have my own. I have one staff member
Okay,
that's working for me.
but that's a
yeah. So you
salary.
guys are 4 in total. Yeah, like 4 in total.
But so that's
Yeah.
that's a salary member. It's not like a contract person who only makes money.
No, it's a salary member. No.
All right. So then, if that person gets paid or not, it's up to your business. It's not them coming and doing independent work in your salon.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Now, the
right.
reason I mentioned it, because a lot of salons here in the States, the way it works is that you'll have a lot of beauticians working there who do hair and nails and things like that. But they just work in the salon. They pay a small fee to use the bigger business's location and facilities, and then they make
Yes,
money.
it's like rent a chair. It's like
Yeah.
rent a booth.
Yeah, I guess
Yes,
that's a term
yes.
for it. But that's not how your
Yes,
business
we
is set up.
started off with the renter booth. We started renting from the landlord. She had a already set up salon, but then eventually we took it over and asked her, if we could just, rather than just renting a booth, just take the place over,
Gotcha.
just to make it our own creative space. So yeah.
Cool beans. So there's a comment in here directed at me. I think it's Heinrich says, "What's with the bro cream look?" Okay, Heinrich, what's with the 1960s lingo, man? Yeah, take that back to the 60s. Nobody uses bro cream anymore. Now he's giving me a hard time because my hair's slicked down. But that's because if it's not gooped, it's going to be all over the place right now because it's definitely out of control, in need of a hairstylist or a barber. That's for sure. So.
But it looks good.
Oh, I just saw that. Thank you, Yanni. I just saw that above your head. I missed that entirely, where it says Yanni 0, Reese 1. Exactly.
I don't win a lot, so I'll take it anytime.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to mention that, Reese. Yeah, you do tend to come on the short end of that usually, but I saw that
Yeah.
victory for you, so I thought we'd celebrate the solidarity with you.
Yeah.
So you guys obviously knew about me from watching Ronaldo, or at least probably the first time I called in. I think you were watching the show, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how you guys came to it. So what do you think of the channel? I mean, obviously you must like it, or you probably wouldn't be here, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, I think we got introduced to your channel, I suppose, via Ronaldo's channel, and probably just him and the bit of hype that he created, just to go and follow Chris White, because he spoke about you a few times, and obviously the introduction to you before your first, you had like a Sunday service with him. It was like way before that, and yeah, we started following it. Following it when your streams goes on. So I mean, like I'm saying, the content is, for us, it's
Very
refreshing
interesting,
because
yeah.
it's a view on South Africa, but from outside of South Africa.
Also, we learn a lot. I think we learn a lot.
which is sad but true.
Well, don't. That's not sad. Remember, I was a college professor, so I ought to be able to teach people something. So don't be sad. So yeah, what I was going to say is that You know, it always, I think for a lot of things, it is helpful, particularly when it comes to politics, to at least have not alternative views necessarily, but external views, so that someone's from the outside looking in. But that can be dangerous too. One of the things I told people is that I always liked The Economist back before it lost the plot. But I always liked The Economist for many, many years because they did this thing called the American Survey. Every week you had a section of the magazine devoted to politics and developments in America, looking from the outside in. And it was pretty good. But they lost the plot after we invaded Iraq, and I haven't trusted them much since then. But to me, that was a very helpful thing. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, you know, not just South Africa, but across Africa, an outsider, but not necessarily an outsider because I've lived about a third of my life in Africa. So yeah, from that approach. And I like to think it helps, and it's different anyway. So you know.
Yeah, I think what's different though for us is that a lot of people have an opinion about a lot of things that's not in their country, right? So I mean, we all have our opinions about Donald Trump and you know, some of the other presidents around the world, you know, but that's just an opinion because that's a comment that we make about something we read or whatever. Your commentary is different though because you actually do a lot of research, you do a lot of, and you have a lot of knowledge and experience from some of these countries. You actually come from a very unique position that I almost want to say not a lot of people, if not anybody, really possesses, that can just throw out comments out there and whatever, you know. So that's quite unique, and that's what I think what we appreciate. So.
Yeah, I feel like I can't actually give an opinion on the States and stuff because I've never been there. I don't live there, so can't say much about it. So yeah, Yanni's been there. Loves it, wants to move there. Yeah. I've only been to Thailand. That's as far as I went. But yeah, so I just feel...
Well, you know, it's interesting because you get a lot of people who say that, listen, not me or me specifically, but just generally speaking, they say, well, you can't talk about that place. You're not from there, or you've never been there. You couldn't possibly know. But my own experience, there are a certain number, and I'm not talking about myself, I'm just saying in general. I mean, there is a certain number of Alexander the Greats in every cohort. In every group of people, you've got certain people that just innately get other people, can understand culture, they can understand events away from them. They just have the ability to digest and figure that out. And I've seen people like that. In fact, doing family research, genealogy on my family, a friend of mine who was in the Army with me, his brother worked for the Latter-day Saints Library out in Salt Lake City. And he's never been to Germany, doesn't speak German, but he knows research, and he knew the history of the documents in Germany. So I was out there in Salt Lake City on my way to Tunisia, moving to Tunisia, and met on a Saturday, and he said, what do you want to look for? And I said, well, my grandmother's name was Aspelmeyer, and I don't know much about it. It's the only line that I can't follow back. He said, Aspelmeyer, that sounds like a Westphalian name. I'm like, dude, I've been speaking German for 20 years. If you say so, okay. So we walked through the bookshelves, and we went right to the shelf that I'd been to previously on another trip. And he goes, here it is. And he pulls the book down, and we leaf through it, and there's my great-great-grandfather, Friedrich Wilhelm Aspelmeyer, who immigrated to America in 1848, right there in the book, because this guy knew his craft. And so my point is that you don't have to research. I mean, if you studied America and you learned about it, you could become an expert on it if you wanted. I'm just saying, not everybody, but there's enough people like that. But you get people like, well, you're not black. How do you know what it's like to be black? Well, I know what it's like to be discriminated against and be abused for the color of my skin and taken advantage of. Is that like being black?
Yeah,
no,
that's interesting. Yeah, we haven't actually traced our family history like that. That's sad, but...
That would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Where Van der Walt comes from and whatever. I mean,
I'm Van Wyk.
Yeah, before she got married, she's Van Wyk. Or
I'm a Van der Wyk.
Okay. Well, but that's easy. You guys, I mean, we just got to look on the map and find out where Wout and Wyk is, and then we know where you're from. That's solved.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Whereas my surname is actually originally Danish, and then they were Vikings who kept invading France. And what happened was the French king said enough. He gave all these Normans, who became the Normans, the Vikings, land in what was Normandy. And so what happened was they stopped raiding Paris, and then they founded Normandy, the land of the Northmen, Normandy. And then they set back to Frisia and to Denmark and northern Germany for their wives, and married for a couple generations. But within 100 years, they learned French, and they were Catholics, and then they were Normans, but by blood Scandinavian, and then they invaded England. So the name was Vido, V-I-D-O originally, which means an old Danish word for someone who works in the forest or with wood. And so there was a Vido, and the French, it used to be a German language, and it became a Latin language because of the Romans. So they lost the ability to pronounce the hard V's and W's like Volkswagen, like we do in German. And so what happened is that Vito became Gio, G-U-I-O-T, and then the Normans invaded England, and the English were still Anglo-Saxon, and they couldn't pronounce the Latin stuff, even though the Romans had been there, because they didn't want anything to do with the Romans. So Gio became Wyatt. Anyway, it's a longer story than that, but Wyatt is originally a Danish name. Now, there's another version of it that it's actually an Old English name, which means Wigherd, but that's a different branch of the family. My branch came from Normandy and settled in Kent in southeastern England, and then in 1621 came to Jamestown. The first royal governor of Jamestown County, Virginia, was my 17th grade uncle, Sir Francis Wyatt. So genealogy is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's quite awesome.
Very,
Wow.
Should do that.
You should do that. She turns you on, and we should do that.
I want to know.
I don't know if I want to know.
I want to know.
No, but listen,
Yeah, it'd be good to know.
with
It's interesting.
Afrikaner history, you guys have got some fabulously interesting characters in the history of Boers and Afrikaners going back quite a way. So you're bound to find something interesting. Of course, you might find something infamous too. You never know. That does happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you guys are okay. But do you have family or friends that are suffering under this lockdown? Is it hurting friends that you know, or?
I mean, family-wise, her family.
We're all entrepreneurs, so we all have our own
entrepreneurs, yeah, so-
businesses and stuff. So I think my parents did with their business. They've got a restaurant in Strand in Cape Town. So being in lockdown for the first, what was it, level 1, 2, whatever, after 5 and 4, they couldn't work. And I mean, no work, no income. And they could also not claim. So that was very hard on them. But now they up and going again. So that's good.
Yeah, it's a lot better now with level 3 because you can have people that could come and get take out.
And it's a family business. So my brother delivered pizzas. So the whole family got involved. My mom, she's also a hairstylist, so she also got involved in the business. Also there with my dad making pizzas. Sister was there to take the orders, so it went well. So
they have the 3 businesses. It's the hair salon and 2 restaurants, one in Gordons Bay and one in Strand. So her family side is very entrepreneurial, as she said, whereas my family is a lot more traditional.
Yeah, we total opposites. Me and Yanni, total
at big
opposites.
companies, and where you have this false sense of security and whatever, which is the exact opposite. But it's interesting. It's very much like the Robert Kiyosaki book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, because that's how I would compare our dads. They're both unique and I don't know what's the right word, not clever, but unique and influential in their own ways with, how we should approach,
And even though we're
prosperity in life,
opposite,
so-
our families get along so well. It's the weirdest thing. Like I get along with his parents; they love me more than they love him,
and
then
parents love me more.
my parents love him more. So that's always good to have the in-laws.
I've known her parents 20 years. I've known them 5 to 6 years before I even met her, because she was studying in Pretoria and whatever. I was living in Richards Bay, which is in Northern KZN.
Yep.
And I only met her when she moved back to Richards
When
Bay.
he lost his original hairstylist,
Yes.
then he had to come to me because I was the new one. I get past all the new clients.
Well, you guys shouldn't get too opposite each other. Somebody in the chat's taking a shine to Reese. We won't go any further than that, but. There's some comments here about Richards Bay. That's where the world's largest coal processing terminal is at. Correct. Yep.
Yeah, Richards Bay coal terminals. Yeah,
it's massive.
And that's where I started my mining career,
that's where you
working
started
for
working,
Richards Bay Minerals, which is a heavy minerals mine in Richards Bay.
Normally they keep that pretty busy. The Chinese need something to pollute the air with to keep that electricity going for the world's factories. So, So let's see. I've been asked a question. Well, a couple things over here. I think Sean said that his forefathers were illegal immigrants. They must have swam to South Africa because he can't trace it or something like that. So that's interesting.
Paperwork got wet.
Yeah, paperwork got wet. So he just rocked up on the shore. Hey, we're here. And then Lone Wolf asked if I've done a DNA test. In fact, I've done the DNA test. I've done it a few different times. And the thing about doing DNA is this, and this is the dirty little secret that people don't realize, okay? So you can go back and find records and documentation of who your grandparents and your great-grandparents and so on were. But the reality is that in every generation, between 3 and 9% of most groups, the fathers are not the fathers of the children when they think they are. And we won't get into the details of what happens in relationships there, but so it's a pretty common occurrence in all societies. So when you're a genealogist, the further you go back, you start to have to wonder if you have to take this with a grain of salt, or even in Victorian times, did these people anyway? But if based on the research that I've done and documents plus other sources, it would seem that I was overwhelmingly Germanic, Anglo-Saxon, Celtic, Scandinavian. That would be everything, essentially. And then the DNA actually bore that out. The DNA actually says that. So it's overwhelmingly. So British Isles and Scandinavia is primarily where the DNA that I have came from. So I recommend it for folks that want to do it. But I mean, if you're a prepper, if you're hiding out and don't want people to find you, then I guess you take a risk if the Chinese break into the company's database and get your DNA. But anyway, my DNA was already on file with the U.S. government, so I can never commit a crime because as a soldier, they take your DNA at the outset. And so, I mean, I didn't mind doing it. It was interesting. So.
Yeah. But do you think I don't want to say easier over time, but do you think 100 years from now, 100 years is not that long though, because it's probably 1 or 2 generations. Because if you were talking back to the 1600s, you're talking about 15 generations, probably. So I'm just wondering if like a couple of 100 years from now, if that gap and calculating where you're really coming from would be easier. But it's probably only because there's more information in this digital age versus 100 years ago.
Well, the key is how quickly they catch it in human history as the population grows. When the population is small and just a few 100 million, there are specific traits in certain places develop over time. But now that we've got 9 billion people and people are mixing all the time from all over the world, it will get more difficult going forward. Because what happens is you don't carry all that DNA with you. Some of those markers disappear in each generation. Otherwise, you'd be nothing but jam-packed with DNA stacked on top of DNA. So you get half your DNA roughly from your mother, half from your father, and then you lose half of theirs, and so on each generation. So that's why you'll get, like with DNA tests, it'll say like you have 3 to 5 centimorgans, which is a unit of measurement in a DNA, and this is your third cousin. You're like, that's like less than 1% of DNA. How is that person my cousin? Well, that's just the way it works. That's how they figured it out. So let's see what else we got over here. There's a lot of talk about Mouton. Yeah, that does mean lamb. It means sheep. A friend of mine is a colonel in the army. His name is Dan Mouton. Yep. And then I think Jack Sparrow said marais means swamp. Indeed, it does. Knowing French, that helps. Tercia's there. So, guys, what else? You want to add anything to the conversation here? I don't see anybody else send a text on Skype that wants to call in. Right now, it looks like it's going to be the interview with Yanni and Reese, which is fine with me, but unless somebody sends a text in. But what else you guys want to talk about?
I don't know. What's your thoughts on what's going to happen with South Africa in about 2 weeks? Because at some point in time, we need to get some news about the end of our state of disaster. So, I mean, it's going to get complicated even with this court ruling yesterday or the day before around the level 3 and level 4 being unconstitutional. So that's going to be interesting as to how that's going to play out. But do you think everything might just come to a...
There's also a lot of news out about Yssel is going back in 2 weeks' time.
So but everything almost like seems to be happening at that time when our 90 days are up, and they may need to renew the state of disaster, because they can extend that for another 90 days, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to double check on that. There's a certain period, but I don't think they can do it for 90 days. I thought they could only do it for 30 days at a time, but maybe they've changed the regulations. Anyway, I'm talking about the actual legislation. But anyway, it's difficult to say, Yanni, because the government for sure is going to dig their heels in on this. And then while we're looking at that outside the public, there is a serious fight inside the ANC. I wouldn't be surprised to see Cyril enjoying his billions, on a beach getting arrested soon as a private citizen. It wouldn't shock me if there's a Polokwane massacre taking place inside the ANC sometime very soon. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying that. I mean, look at Messina from Ekurhuleni. His Twitter account's gone. Now he's attacking the government, his own party, in the press. That's just indicative of what's happening inside the ANC. And it's really hard to make a prediction right now, I think, in the next 2 weeks. But I expect a lot of what's going to happen is that the government is simply just going to ignore things and not say that they've stopped, implementing some of these rules and just let them fade away. The one big issue, of course, is what happens with the tobacco ban. When the tobacco ban is lifted, there's going to be dancing in the streets, and then any credibility the ANC has is going to be gone. So I think it's just going to be gone. But this one's tough. I mean, I'm in the business of making predictions. I worked as an intelligence analyst for many years, and not to boast too much, but I've had a pretty good track record with my projections. But this one's tough. I mean, I think even inside the ANC, people running this show, if they gave you a prediction today, they might be wrong in 2 weeks. So it's tough. The cigarettes.
There's a lot of factors, eh?
Yeah, no, it is. It's you need a supercomputer to put all the factors in to get this thing to work.
Yeah, and I mean the issue is that, and I see. I think it was Sean that made the comment here. Was that
90 days and 30 days after that. Yep.
Yes, and one of the issues is that how some of the decisions are being made, because a lot of the decisions are supposed to be taken to Parliament, but it's not. The decision seems to be being made by the NCC, or the NCCC, but. That's something I think the DA also called for us to say, that these decisions needed to be taken back to Parliament. So that'll also have an influence, because I think hasn't been confirmed to my knowledge, but there's a very small handful of people that's actually running the NCC, which just tells me that there's not a lot of influence in people actually fighting for what decisions should be made.
Yeah.
That affects us as South Africans, because my view is I think we should have just stopped lockdown and had really strict social distancing and hygienic protocols 1 month ago. It would have been a lot different than the situation that we are in now, because even today we went to the shops real quick. Now I know we're in level 3, but it was extremely busy. So I mean it's almost like life is back to normal. So yet we're still under this hole. So what does it mean?
Well, I think
I go to the beach, but
I think part of this, Yanni, is there are elements of the ANC that are all too happy for this to happen, and EFF, but they're not ruling. Because I think that some people are squealing in delight. They actually get to criminalize law-abiding citizens, people who pay their taxes and don't go around and raping and murdering and stealing. And now giving you a criminal record for sitting on a beach, just making, honestly, this is not a conspiracy theory. I mean, Rodney Lamola actually came out, was almost, chirping about 230,000 people had been arrested during the lockdown. Very happy about that. I would be very saddened. I mean, for instance, now with the riots in America, if 150,000 people were sitting in jails because they're rioting, I would be happy that rioters are off the streets, but I would be sad that 150,000 of our citizens are now criminals because they chose to act like morons. Not that the people sitting on the beach in South Africa act morons, but you get my point, I think.
Yeah, true. And the other challenge is, though, so if this level 3, level 4 lockdown has been found to be unconstitutional, what does it mean for the people that did get locked up under level 3? Well, level 3 is only a week or only 3 days in, but I mean, under level 4 specifically, that was like a whole month.
Yeah, they're going to
so
have.
What does it
they're
mean
going to have
for those people?
They're going to have to set those aside. A court can't possibly, if that was an unconstitutional act, then you can't enforce a penalty. It's not a crime. The government overstepped. Now, if they try to come at you with some other stuff like resisting arrest and things like that, they could push that. That's still a crime. And, a lot of times when you get arrested, people, in the government, trust me, I was a counterintelligence agent. When somebody commits a crime, you throw everything at them that you possibly can. False statements, false documents, resisting arrest, if they did. So that you have all these charges, and then, then the actual crime that they were suspected of turns out not to be true. If they want to be malicious, they can still prosecute. Now, I think Blues Pixie's trying to trick me here real quick. So Blues says, Chris, Frafitani Yani Haoud Habaris. So I think Blues Pixie's trying to see if I recognize that. Says, ask Yanni how old that beard is.
Titani.
So my beard grows pretty fast. I would probably reach this in about 4 months, but I trim it. So my beard is probably like 2 years, I think, 2 years old.
But we do trim it quite
often. Yeah. And my hair this is about a year now.
No, not even.
Not
shorter,
even, yeah.
My
hair grows insane. Yeah. That's one problem I don't have is hair growth. So.
No, but I got the question right, didn't I? I mean, I understood what
you did.
Yeah, you did.
I think he called me Tani Yani, meaning Aunt Yani, because my hair is long. So.
Well, I hope so, because I don't have any facial hair. Well,
I'll let that one go.
Well, that's what threw me off at first, because I mean, like I said, I can read and understand Afrikaans, but Tani to me is like Tanta, which is German. So I'm like, I think he's trying to be smart.
Yeah, like Aunt.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean, so that's what threw me off. I'm like, I got everything else in the sentence, and he says Harbard is so that. Yeah, that's anyway. So Anyway, yeah, like I got it. Trying to trick me there, Blues Pixie. I'm hot full of your questions. I'm
assuming Paul is Seven Fire, or is he in the medical industry or something?
I don't think so.
I'm reading his comments. He's saying, I had 2 emergency calls from the start of lockdown to level 3. Since last week, it's gone back to normal, and with the booze, we're busy again.
He's a firefighter.
Yeah,
Paul is a firefighter. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would explain.
They started with BBBEE. Now they have NCCC. Wonder what's next. Yeah, that's a good question. 3 years to get to a Joe. Hey, listen, Joe Black doesn't have a beard, ladies and gentlemen. He shaved it off.
We saw sad.
Yeah, that's very sad. No, he looks like a baby.
Very sad.
Yeah, it's very much confusing. I was like, what? That just threw me off. So now I'm sitting here listening. I'm just trying to picture him singing Bring You Up Vet Rug, and I'm like, no, that's not going to work without that beard.
No, it's not. It's going to have to go into pop.
No, I shaved my beard 2 years ago, and people knew me because we got married in 2015.
Oh my God, I was so upset.
In 2015, my hair was as long as it is now, probably a little bit longer actually.
Yeah.
My beard was as long as it is, and in 2018, I shaved my beard and whatever for the first time and cut my hair. And when I walked into the office, people didn't even
I could not look at
me.
him for 2 weeks. I was so upset. I was crying. It's too much face. It's too much face. I can't deal with it. I can't.
I don't know.
Working.
I don't think that's a compliment. We'll just leave that at that. So
yeah, it's okay. But the people at work do tend to take chances with me. So it's better when I have a beard. I think I look a bit stricter. So
big fan of the beard.
Hank's got a question here, but before I get to that, listen, if anybody else wants to call in and be part of the show, go ahead and send me a Skype. It's wmwchris, CHRIS. So Whiskey Mike Whiskey Charlie Hotel Romeo India Sierra. If you want, send me a text message in Skype, and then it'll come up at the bottom. But in the meantime, we'll continue on with them. But Hank has asked a very good question. Yanni and Reese, are you rugby supporters? And if so, who do you support?
Yes, we are. And I'm so embarrassed to say it's Blue
I'm not
Bulls.
embarrassed.
I know.
It's Blue Bull supporters.
Yes,
so
don't be embarrassed.
No, I think it's the whole thing around Blue Bulls. It's like
there's a big stigma with other
the schoolmen.
No, it's not. They are the.
But yeah, that's my team.
They are the Northern Transvaal, old Northern Transvaal, rugby team. So, no, there's nothing wrong with that. But, I mean, my parents are born in Transvaal, so the old Transvaal, and they now live in KZN, and they are both Shark supporters. Her parents were also born in Pretoria area. They've been Bull supporters, but they now live in Cape Town or Western Cape. I'm not sure if they are converting.
No, I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, in the end, even my sister, who's born in KZN, same as me, she's also a Blue Bull supporter. So,
Yeah.
No, there's no reason to be embarrassed of being a Bull supporter. Somebody has to carry the bottom of the table to help everybody else out. So, thank you for that. No. Listen, I think it's going to be an exciting time for the Bulls because Jake White's there, and we've got some exciting. Arno Botta is coming back from Europe. He's going to be on the team. I think the Bulls are going to come back in a season or so if we get back to rugby. We'll see. But people are asking me. I'm a Stormers Western Province fan, always have been. But it just depends who's playing. When Willie Leroux was playing for the Cheetahs, I would always root for the Cheetahs, except against Western Province. When Bismarck Duplessis and Yanni Duplessis were playing for the Sharks, I would root for them unless they're playing, that sort of thing. It's just rugby. I'll watch it all. Speaking of rugby, it's
true. Same. Sorry, Chris. So same for me as well. We also watch rugby. It's almost like, I want to say seasonal, but we sometimes watch more and sometimes watch less. But one of my favorite games is in 2007, I think. It was 2007. I was in Madagascar on a project, and we're a couple of South Africans in Antananarivo, and it was weekend, and it was the, I think it was the Currie Cup final game, where Rabana had that, what do you call it in English? In the last 10 seconds of the game, he intercepted the ball and he got a try. I can't remember.
Bana.
It was Brandebana, yeah. That was one of my
Brandebana.
favorite games. But I mean, that was also one of the games where I think I had the most, what do you call it? Like, the vibe of like just
Those are great
being
games.
outside of South Africa, but being in a bar somewhere with a bunch of South Africans all watching
I
the
don't even know where
Sharks
I
Bulls
was.
game. You were, yeah, because I phoned you, or you phoned me, and the game was like 5 minutes ahead of us, or
Yeah,
5
no, it wasn't. Yeah,
ahead of us. I
at
can't
home.
remember, but that was.
Well, I was, for the 2007 Rugby World Cup final, I was in Liberia, rebuilding the armed forces of Liberia. And so we watched the game projected off a satellite dish that one of the contractors, who's a former military person, had access to the American as a retiree, so you can use the American satellite system for the military. So he had his receiver there, and he projected it on the wall of the dining facility, and we watched the final. Now, I watched it with an Australian named Bruce, and Bruce used to play Super Rugby a long time ago when it was Super 12, and he was a police officer from Tasmania, and also a professional rugby player. So he was working the recruiting and vetting program in Liberia. So I went down to visit the barracks one day, and normally I'm wearing fatigues or a uniform because I work 7 days a week. And this particular day, I went down there and I was wearing a Springboks cap because it was during the Rugby World Cup. This is before the game, the final. And he's standing there and he's like, I didn't know that he played rugby before this. I just knew he's from Australia. And he's like, and I'm like, what's going on with this guy? I was talking to his boss. And suddenly he just goes in a huff and he walks off. I'm like, and I looked at his boss, Jeff, and I'm like, what's wrong with Bruce? He goes, I don't know, man. About 5 minutes later, he comes back. Now, bear in mind, it's like 35 degrees Celsius. It's humidity at 97%. We're standing there dripping. He comes back with a cap and a scarf and a Wallabies flag, and he's waving it back and forth. I'm like, oh, seriously? Because I'm wearing a Springboks cap? Anyway, so the point of the story was not so much that, but that in the World Cup, of course, the All Blacks got knocked out, the Wallabies got knocked out, so the only Southern Hemisphere team left as we got down to the final in 2007 was the Springboks. And I said to him, I said, listen, mate, I said, in the spirit of, now I'm an American, of course, right? In the spirit of Southern Hemisphere solidarity, you're going to root for the Bucks, right? He said, yeah, absolutely. Then the game gets on, and the bastard starts rooting for England. I wanted to kill him.
I remember that game.
Yeah.
I remember that final. Yeah, that was such good times, eh?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was very good times. Do you watch Formula One?
No, I'm not really much of a fan. I never got that sort of stuff. I've watched it a bit when I was a kid, but I don't really get into Schumacher and all that stuff. But last year I went to a NASCAR event, and I didn't get it. And then I had free tickets, so I went to Dover Racetrack, which is about 2.5 hours from here down in Delaware. Went down and sat down about 20 rows up so I could get a good view. And they came out, they did their warm-up lap, and they lined up. And when they took off, I'm like, I get it now. This rocks, man. Yeah, just, I've been in combat, and, this. So I'm thinking this is no big deal, but, it's just an amazing thing. Somebody in the questions there asked what Q is in the military phonetic alphabet. Q is Quebec, not Quebec, it's Quebec. That's how we say it in the military when we say the phonetic alphabet. So just for folks to know that. Variable Vision says some history at the onset of the Great Trek. The Trek liars wrote Ons Trek on the side of Table Mountain. Those who could read Trek and those who couldn't. I didn't know that. That's the first I ever heard of that. Wow, that's interesting. I wonder if that's true or if it's just mythology. All right, so what else we got here? All right.
Yeah, that's also interesting. I haven't seen.
That is interesting. I don't know. Now, I know about the Doorsland trekkers who tried to go through the Kalahari. It didn't go so well for them. In fact, one group had to sit in the eastern part of Namibia and recuperate for nearly a year before they could push on to Angola. It's a pretty sad story, the Doorsland trekkers. I don't think a lot of South Africans know about the Doorsland trekkers, but interesting group of folks there.
No, which is, I think, sad. If I think about high school history and what I recall from high school history, none of the interesting history that I think would have really played a role for us today is the history that we learned. We learned, we learned some German history and Russian history and whatever, but not South African history. That's what I would have really wanted to learn, if I had a choice now about, choosing what history I could learn.
I don't want to learn.
Reese doesn't want to learn history. What about geography, Reese? Do you like geography or no?
No, I'm more of the creative person. I can't concentrate for very long. It's very hard for me.
Hence the unicorn.
I love the unicorn. That's awesome. Of course, I really love the Viking too, since I'm a Viking by blood anyway. So it's good stuff. Let's see. What else we got over here? Any other questions that people have for you guys? I don't see anybody. Everybody's shy today. So this is the call in with Reese and Yanni today. That's fine.
Yeah, it seems so.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's being shy, so that's fine. But we got this to work, Yanni. So this is awesome. I mean, it's sorted. It's pretty cool. And you guys really made it special with the background there. I love that unicorn and the Viking and everything. And now I can actually see Reese's hair. And you know, when I see her, when you guys call in on Ronaldo's program, I can just barely see the sort of purple. It's not really looking like it's purple though. It looks more like it's. I don't know.
No, it's pink. I'm a huge pink fan, but there is some purple.
Yeah,
there you go.
And that's what I like about it, because sometimes her hair is varying colors of pink. This is like you know, light pink.
Yanni likes like bright
shocking,
pink.
yeah.
But I think it's because like when we go shopping or whatever, he can spot me very quickly. Like you know, it's just like he doesn't lose me in a crowd.
I just like when people look at her and they react to her hair, because kids would like come up to her, or you know.
Oh yeah, no, I've had a
would
kid
come up to her
cry because she wants to go home with me.
Sometimes you'll see like a couple walk and you'll see a guy look and you'll see his wife jerk at him or something, and then I just, you know, it makes my heart feel warm. I love it. So, but even on our wedding, her hair was pink. Her hair was this type of shade of pink. You know, even for our wedding, and my hair was as long, plaited Viking style. So.
So that's normally how you keep your hair then, Reese. I mean, that wasn't just a COVID-19 lockdown thing. That's how you do it.
No. My hair has been all shades of pink like forever.
Yeah,
everyone knows me with this. I have had my hair black.
Yeah.
Black is usually the one that I go to. I don't know why. But all my clients and everything, if I had to change my hair color, no one would. If they had to walk into the salon, they'd walk straight past me. Everyone knows me by my pink hair.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking me to type in the handle for Skype. Let me do it again. My apologies, guys. I must have put it on the other stream. There it is right there. So try that on Skype. Looks like somebody wants to call in. But that's somebody. There's something I want to say here. Somebody was saying something about Eben Etzebeth being short. Man, I've stood next to Eben Etzebeth. That dude is tall. I'm 6'.
Oh, that guy's.
He's a giant.
I didn't even know. He's a giant. Oh my word.
I think he must be like 6'8" or 6'9", because I'm 6'2" and he towers over me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm 189. I don't know what that converts into feet.
What's going on with your picture, guys? You look like you're calling from Mars orbiting station. There it is.
That's just it, you know.
Oh, that was cool. You guys have like magical powers and stuff. I like that.
That's so
funny. The camera got confused with. But I don't know what. Let's just check. I don't know what 181.89 meters to feet. 1.89 meters to feet.
Tercia says her two daughters are beautiful redheads and have suffered inappropriate attention for all their lives. Well, they must be stunning young ladies. That's probably why they're getting stares all the time. So it's probably uncomfortable and awkward, but you know, it's also complimentary, I suppose.
Well, Tasha, redheads are the best. Gingers rock. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, so that's how you guys pronounce it, Tercia, not Tercia.
Tasha, yeah. Tasha Bason.
Tercia. I've been mispronouncing it all the time. Oh, touching. No, that's not cool, Tercia. That's out of bounds. No, that's not cool. You know, it's interesting. People always talk about, you know, people, how they look and such. But all over Africa, I mean, I've been in villages where little kids come up and just have to touch my skin because I'm white, because they've never seen a white person. You know, and they stare at you and they say things. I don't take offense to that. These kids don't know any better. They've never seen somebody look like that. My goodness, you have a situation like that around here, you know, somebody's different. Oh, they're racist. Come on, man. They're just kids. Kids don't know that nonsense.
And it's so innocent, you know. That's what you can appreciate about it.
I love that they don't have filters.
Yeah.
They will just say whatever. It's amazing. I love it. Especially embarrassing parents. That's like my best thing.
Oh, it's always fun. I love that. No, I'm getting everyone's telling me you guys help me with my pronunciation. Well, I've got Tertia right now, so at least I got that correct.
Your sponsor, the Bezuidenhout?
Yeah, Bezuidenhout, yeah.
Yeah, Bezuidenhout, that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bezuidenhout. The Z is an S.
Like the Zyde. Like the Zyde. Yeah, Bezuidenhout. Yeah, no, it's not my sponsor. By the way, guys, that's all free. Nobody's paying me for those advertisements. I'm just doing it as a courtesy for people I've done things with. Now, Talon has given me the animations for my videos. I didn't ask for it. He just made them because he was really into my channel. Yeah, so he's really in my channel. So I'm just paying it back as a courtesy. So yeah, none of that's paid for. That's all just, you know. And I'm not getting anything from promoting Jezelle. I just think she rocks, man. Her music is awesome. And
that's very cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to help her. You know, it's really sad to see what's happening, and it's a small way. I've got a small audience, but man, it's really grown by leaps and bounds. I had 2 subscribers 2.5 months ago, and now we're approaching 2,000. It's gone pretty quickly.
That's insane, dude.
That's amazing.
No, that's awesome. It's amazing. That's one thing that we've done. I think in lockdown, what we have, I suppose, done the most in lockdown, is these YouTube channels, you know, finding some content that we can relate to. Obviously, Ronaldo was the first one, but from Ronaldo, it kind of like branched off over onto yourself, over onto Morning Shots, onto Germ, a couple of others that we, you know, thought we liked and then didn't like. But I mean, if I had to, you know, the channels that we follow is probably the 4 of you guys, with yourself and Ronaldo probably being the most. But it's more the time of day when the content comes out, and you know, it suits our lifestyle and stuff. But that's for us been really interesting, is to see how a lot of people, not just in this genre of YouTube now, but a lot of people have done in the last, you know, 6-8 weeks.
I've always been on YouTube, like 24/7. Yanni knows, documentaries after documentaries.
Yeah.
So yeah,
following people, but doing the right thing, you know, giving likes, subscribing to the content you really want to support, but liking the videos you do, you know, that is, I think, the one good thing that's come from lockdown for us, is, you know, just digging into that content a bit and probably appreciating it, because, you know, everybody's sitting there, we're sitting on the couch, you know, we're just watching a show, but somebody actually sits and creates content, does research, does all this stuff, you know, it's you know, it's a lot of effort.
No, it is. Thank you, Yanni. I appreciate you mentioning that. It really is. You know, it's one of the reasons I tell people I didn't do it when I was serving is because I could have potentially run into conflicts by prescribing policy or speaking out of turn. You can't, you know, violate the chain of command sort of thing. But the other part of it too is that, you know, kind of busy in the Army. This takes a lot of time to do this. I mean, I could make a video once a week on a weekend, but doing it like this really does take a lot of work. So thanks for recognizing. I appreciate it. There's a question here. Oh no, it's not a question. It's from Tertia said that. Yeah, okay, she's talking about those people touching her daughters, mostly old aunts. So it's old ladies touching them. Okay, well, that's probably
taking you on your.
It's probably better than 30-year-old men walking up and grabbing them. So that's probably a better outcome, although I'm sure it's not good to begin with. But so Variable Vision says, any plans to travel to South Africa to meet in Botswana after lockdown? Yeah, of course, plans to travel, absolutely. Now that I'm knowing a lot more people in South Africa, you know, do my, I guess, a South Africa tour and swing through some places and say hi to folks and film some content with people in South Africa. That'd be kind of cool, and use that on the channel. I think people might enjoy that.
I love Botswana. Botswana is, I really do. It's a beautiful
we did
place.
In 2011. We did a 2-week, 14-day 4x4 cruise through Botswana. So we had another couple, good friends of ours, and we had a 4x4 and a couple of extra sets of spare tires and roof tents, and we did a whole 14-day, you know, drive, sleepover tent, all the way up to the north, and then came back down the beach to South Africa. So we took, like, you know, probably 10-11 days to get to the north, and then 3 days to get back home. So we completely went around the western side of Botswana through Galagadi, Moremi.
Oh, so you did go up to the Delta then? Did you go north of the Delta?
All the way up.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, all the way up to past
Savuti, yeah.
Yeah, past all that. I mean, the elephant.
Yeah, I've never seen an elephant that big. That's not the Kruger National Park elephant.
And that makes the Kruger National Park
so not to offend South Africans, but honestly, and I am biased, of course, and I've never physically been to Kruger. I've just seen video footage of people who have it. Botswana's elephants and Botswana's wildlife makes Kruger look like a local zoo at times. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed. We went to the Kruger after we went to Botswana. I think we actually haven't been to the Kruger ever until like a couple of years ago, which is sad for us in South Africa, that there is such beauty in our country that we don't always appreciate. But once you've been to Botswana, that is,
Yes,
that's
it's
not just a
beautiful.
bucket list item that you'll do
And the
once. I
people
would
is
do it.
nice. The people are really nice. We went to the hospital.
Yeah, one friend had a chest infection. She got like, a bit of a cough or whatever.
They were
and
so
just
helpful, so
everything was so,
nice.
yeah, it was such an awesome trip.
There was a guy that came up to me and held my hand, and he was a big guy. And I was sitting waiting for our friends, and he just came up to me and he
But he was
held my
friendly,
hand and he
talking to
stared
you.
into my eyes, and I was a little bit freaked out, but I'm not, I'm fine with that. And then as he turned around, it said psych ward on the back.
Yeah.
And I was just,
He escaped out of the
I'm
cycle.
not sure.
That was in Maun. I
Mount,
was
yeah,
thinking Maun,
Mount.
Yeah, no,
But he was
Maun's
so
actually kind of a
big and
nice little
such
town.
like a teddy bear.
A teddy bear, huh?
So,
Yeah.
so we stayed over at like a camp inside Maun. So it was
Yeah.
the first time in 4 or 5 days that we had like a hot shower and all kinds of
Yo,
stuff.
that
So,
was
I mean,
the
that was
best
just-
shower ever. We were
Wow.
so dirty.
No, when you go to
Yeah.
Maun, usually the best place to stay is as you go closer to the Delta. Just get a few clicks, up the road, and you find the lodges there instead of staying in town. The places in town are just your standard sort of hotel, and there aren't that many anyway. But yeah, Maun is quite nice. Yep. Let's
Yeah,
see. So
it was very-
so PP Distributors is going to call in, but his computer's acting up. So don't sweat it. We will catch you another time. No worries. I'm going to do this again. This isn't a one-time. It's not a one-off. Jack Sparrow wanted to know where I went to basic training. I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and I went to basic training in November and December. And you want to talk about cold? We did our 20-mile ruck march with our rifle and our 60-pound rucksack or whatever it was in a downpour, and it was 34 degrees, so about 1 degree Celsius in rain pouring down on us. We set up our bivouac. We took our shelter halves, which is half of a tent. Each soldier carries one. You snap them together. You put the poles up and laid down in our sleeping bags. Fortunately, my sleeping bag was dry because we have these waterproof bags in the rucksack. So I had a dry sleeping bag. But I put my boots next to my sleeping bag. I woke up at like 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I sat up and I hit the top of the tent, and it hurt because the tent had been rained on and it come into a solid sheet of ice. My boots were frozen. Fortunately, I had a second pair of boots. Otherwise, I couldn't have put my boots on because they were soaked all the way through. Yeah, that was Fort Leonard Wood. That's where I went to basic training at. But I actually enjoyed it, even though it was miserable.
But that's what makes you guys soldiers, eh?
Makes you professional.
It's sad that I never needed to do, I think it's called national service or something.
My dad did it. Your dad did it.
Yeah, your dad did it, my dad did it. I never had the opportunity to go. I would have loved to go because I think it teaches you an element of not just respect, but it just teaches you to be a man in a way or something. I don't know. But yeah, I would have really loved to go. And I mean, I'm born 81, so I matriculated in 98.
Oh
so
my
I'm old
gosh.
school cadet in
81.
98. So I'm only,
Man, I'm feeling old.
yeah. So next year is the big 440. So
Wow. I remember that.
yeah, there was a comment here by Jack Sparrow saying people in Namibia are way friendlier too. And I loved Namibia. I've been wanting to take Cherise to Namibia because one of the mining companies I used to work for, I used to travel to Namibia quite a bit and spend like a lot of time there. I think in the 1 year I was like 34 weeks or something.
Yeah, no, Yanni
traveling
traveled a lot.
up and down to Namibia for a project we did at one of the uranium mines. But
At Yssel,
yeah,
or-
definitely the Rossing,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
in Rossing Uranium, yeah. And yeah, the Namibian people are such awesome people. I mean, if you enjoy seafood, you enjoy wine. We had so much fun there.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Let me do something real quick, guys, because we're coming up on just about an hour. Hang on a second. So, because people always usually want to know, what am I wearing? So I'm wearing a Kutztown University rugby jersey for Sevens team. There you go, Kutztown right there. That's a college not too far from here. And the scarf on the wall, wrong side. Scarf on the wall is New Zealand, Georgia, 2015 Rugby World Cup. And then there's just two of my veterans caps up there from conflicts that I was involved in. People usually ask about the rugby jersey. Can you guys stay a little bit longer? Want to go a little bit longer? Or do you have to cut off? Because we're right at an hour now.
Yeah. No, we're good.
Okay.
If there's nobody else that wants to dial in, we don't want to hog the...
No, we had one other
Well,
person that was going to
stream.
call in, but had trouble with the computer, so we'll catch that person next time. But let's get some of the more stuff we've missed here in the chat. You've caught some at Western Cape, still working on his computer. Okay. Yeah, the people in Namibia are fantastic. I mean, all the people I've met there, I'd never had a bad experience in Namibia. Really awesome. For me, it's just like it's way underpopulated. I mean, not that it needs more people, but you can go for miles and not see a person all day long in Namibia at times, depending where you're going. Sky Greg T, whom I don't recognize, so welcome to the stream. If you're not a subscriber, feel free to become one by pushing that button. Says, my opa was a game ranger in Maun, owned the farm Odendalwas. Okay, that's kind of cool. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
And Bite Your Ankle says, very few South Africans bother to see the whole of South Africa. I'm glad you guys went to Kruger. You should try visiting the northern camps. Such an awesome experience. Yeah, I've heard it's quite nice up there, but that's also malaria country in the northern part of Kruger, isn't it? Don't you need to take your malaria med? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if...
Where did we stay when we went to the Kruger? We stayed over at a place.
Marlof Park.
Marlof Park.
It's in the south. It's in the south of the Kruger. So we stayed over there for a weekend, and then we did a day trip into the Kruger.
Yeah.
But my parents now did like a 2-week or something last year. This time they did like a 2-week camp, tent, whatever, through the Kruger. Like toured all the way from the north to the south. But they retired now, so they could, go on that holiday.
So the place you guys stayed was not that far from Nelspruit, or is it very far up, or what?
No, it's a little bit east from Nelspruit. So
Okay.
we drove through Nelspruit and then a couple of hours, almost to the southern entrance. What is it called? I'm thinking about Crocodile Bridge, Komatipoort.
Okay,
Yeah, it was
okay.
very close to Komatipoort, probably like a couple of minutes drive, 15-minute drive or
Hey, ek het iets raag.
something. She remembered.
So when I was in Maputo, because that was the last time I was down that way, I drove past there and went to Maputo. And I stayed the last time they had this is a long time ago, it's been a long time since I've been in Mozambique. They just opened up the new hotel, which I think it might have been a Holiday Inn or something like that on the beach. Gorgeous hotel. I'd been there previously and the other one wasn't that nice, but I had dinner and the prawns were like the size of a baby's forearm. They were just like massive. Oh my God. They were huge.
Yeah. I think we've also had some of our best seafood from Mozambique, because when we lived in Richards Bay, like Mozambique was like a 2-hour, not even 2-hour drive, like less than a 2-hour drive, and her parents had a holiday house in just north of Ponta de Oro, so we would go up there with
It
4x4s
wasn't their holiday house.
It was
Like a shared
house, yeah. And we used to get seafood
Oh, such good seafood.
across the border from there. That was awesome. What's the highest north you've been in Maputo, in Mozambique?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Have
sorry.
you only been up to Maputo, or have you been higher north?
No, I've only been about 2-hour drive north of there. That's about as far as I've gone. And these days, you're not going to get up to the north of Cabo Delgado because you're going to be a target for for the insurgents. That's out of control up there in the northern part of the country. It's really sad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a comment here by Lone Wolf saying that Botswana lost 110 elephants. Yeah, I broke that story on my channel and also on LinkedIn. Well, I didn't break it. I reported on it and gave some analysis on it. They were concerned that it might be poisoning. It wasn't poachers. It might be poisoning, but now they're not sure. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's an elephant version of COVID that's out there or something that's taking out elephants. But 110 elephants is pretty significant. They found 43 the first time, I think, and then another 13 or something like that. Now it's up to 110. So that is sad. Elephants are amazing. They're really cool. I mean, it's amazing. They're maternalistic society. They follow the matron. She knows the routes, and they know these long distances to travel. She knows where to find water when there's no water, and now the problem with Botswana is
amazing.
They're a little destructive though, because there's too many of them because they're protected, and so they tear up all the trees. People are like, wait a second, it's Botswana. There's no trees. Yes, there's trees, especially in the Okavango and up around Kasane in the northeast.
There was a lot of donkeys.
Oh,
And
God.
Donkeys everywhere.
Okay. So
And I wanted one, but Yanni.
you wanted a donkey?
She wants. If she had a choice, we would
I would have
like
a
a little
petting zoo.
plot
Oh,
with
dear
all
God.
kinds of animals.
Donkeys.
Yeah, no,
donkeys
it's a no
are,
from me.
No, donkeys and mules are not something you want. They're just a pain in the butt.
I want a llama, alpaca, sheep, goats.
It's a no from me.
Okay, so listen, Reese, let me help you out on this, okay? I lived. Oh, there you go with the magic. I've been like doing an LSD trip again now, looking at your images there. You guys, there it goes. And there's the magic. Will that fix it? Your camera's doing some funny. There we go. I guess it's the focus. But I was a farmer when I was in high school, and I was a dairy farmer. So I milked the cows every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when you milk them. That's not when you get up to go milk them. That's when you milk them, and then 5:30 every night. We had sheep, goats, ducks, rabbits, turkeys, pigs, horses, and dairy cattle. Or dairy cows, excuse me. You don't want that stuff. It just sounds nice. It sounds nice. Trust me.
I just want
That's
them
a
as, I
full-time
just
job,
want
eh?
them as
Oh.
pets. I don't want to.
Yeah, but you need to care for them, though.
Same with the
They
llama.
don't
just-
You can't just leave alpacas unattended, you know. They'll be walking the streets of Pretoria.
Oh, but I can brush them because they do get right like fluffy and.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
just
going to do it for 1 day, maybe 2 days, and then
Nope.
then I need to put that stuff on eBay or something.
She'll be like a 7-year-old with a puppy, and after 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what else we got over here? Oops, I got Colin. Hey, can I drop you guys and pick up another
Yeah.
call? Okay, great.
Awesome.
Yes.
This
awesome.
has
Thanks very
don't
much.
everybody run off. This has been the Yanni and Reese program today. It's been wonderful, and they're going to stay with us. Thanks, guys. Just this way we get someone else in here real quick. All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Oh,
Cheers, Chris. Have a good one.
wait. So it seems up, but now there's a problem. What's the problem? Okay, well, I'm not going to go away yet, guys. You don't have to go yet. He's telling me there's a problem. He's telling me to wait. So you guys don't go anywhere if you don't mind. Anyway.
You kick us when you want to.
Kick us when you're ready. So let's see.
We're crashing your stream.
Jumping out of planes. Hey, did you guys watch the stream of Jezelle when it was live, or did you watch it after the fact?
We watched a little bit when it was live, and then I watched it after the fact.
Yeah.
I think we had it on TV after the fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
What this? So you saw the video where she sings that song "Lick Your Foot Up," where she's jumping out of the plane, the skydiving.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I was in the Army 36 years. I'm not jumping out of planes. They land for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
Exactly right. Good job, Yanni. You get your point back.
Yeah, but you don't know how I pronounced it. Is it exackle or exactla?
No, that's not how it's pronounced. It's spelled like that, but
Is
not pronounced
that
way.
goal?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But somebody in the stream previously said that because Ronaldo said, how do you spell testicle? And then testicle is also CLE. But then somebody said, how do you spell jackal? Because jackal is also,
Okay,
JACAL
but
or whatever.
Ronaldo made the word up, and he said my
Exactly.
spelling is right, so don't take it away from me.
Reese is correct.
I'm right for the first time in my life.
Fine. I'll give you this one. It's lockdown.
Grant is asking, did I also put my feet in the cow manure in the winters? Well, I shovel a lot of cow manure in the winters and the spring and the summer. Yeah, but listen, hey, I make light of farming, but boy, you talk about learning good discipline, personal discipline, responsibility, and having respect for hard work, and also good hygiene too. COVID-19, no big deal. I know about washing them, keeping clean. No, farming was a good experience to have, but not something I ever want to do again. Let someone else do it.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. That we've got some family that's got.
They were farming with watermelon.
Yeah, watermelons. So
Watermelon.
farmers, and chicken eggs. So
No,
egg.
chicken. I don't know.
Well, no, they sell the eggs. The chickens they sell, but there's more eggs than chicken.
I never go there. I don't want to see anything being killed ever.
No, for us,
It's okay
meat
if I go
comes
buy it
from
at the shop and it's already there, but I don't want to see it.
Yeah, you'll
Because
never
if I
find
give
me
it a
hunting.
name, it's a pet. Done.
Well, if you're naming your chickens, we probably got a problem from the outset there. Just saying.
Yeah, no, that won't happen.
Yeah. Was it Stuart Campbell said if you go to Namibia, definitely go to Caprivi. I was informed by Namibian that it's been renamed to another name, but I don't know what that name is. And I don't know if it's Herero or if it's Ovambo or what it is. But apparently that region has a new name. They've dropped the Caprivi name, the former German foreign minister. So did you guys come back through Caprivi, or did you drive back down past Maun and go west when you came back on that trip?
We came down west, so past Francistown. What's it called?
Oh wait,
I forgot now what the town is, but we came down on the eastern side. Sorry, so we went up the western side.
You went through
came down the
Francistown.
eastern
Okay, you went through the Kalahari on this, where all the donkeys are, up to Maun in the west, the Delta, then came back down east through Francistown, and then down.
Yeah,
That's what you did.
yeah.
Okay, all
So
right.
we spent like a couple of days in. I forgot what that northern town is now. It was like an hour's drive from the Zimbabwean border, because then we did like a day trip to the
Falls.
to the Niagara. Is it Niagara Falls?
Huh? Niagara
I don't think-
Falls. That's here.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. No, it's not Niagara Falls. What's the falls that's there now? I'm confused.
Victoria Falls.
Victoria Falls. That's
Are you
it.
talking about in Zimbabwe?
Second one. Yeah.
Yeah, some
So
credits
Victoria
in
Falls. So we went to Vic Falls for the day, then came back, and then spent like another day there.
This is our
We also
focus.
did. I don't know why this happens. I think it's the lighting.
It's so annoying.
We also did a day trip, like on a boat, on that water river piece, whatever that's between Namibia and Botswana. Where you
The
could go out in the
Chobe
boats
River.
in between.
The Chobe
Yeah,
River.
that was also
Yes,
pretty
Chobe
cool. There was
River.
like lots of elephant in the water swimming. Was the hippos as well?
What
I
camp
think?
did we stay at where a week after we left, a little boy was attacked by a leopard? Which
Ooh.
one was that? In the same camp we
Yeah.
were.
Yeah.
It was one of the camps around by Three Bridge, Okavango, whatever, on the top. It was just before Savuti.
Yeah. I know what
Maybe
you're talking
even
about.
so.
I've actually been there. Fortunately, nobody's attacked when I was there. But if you go further east and you get to the border where the Kazungulu crossing, the ferry crossing between Zambia and Botswana, then Zimbabwe is just a few kilometers to the east of there. Chobe National Park is up there, and that's quite amazing. So when I was at the American Embassy there a few years back, my colleague, who's a good friend of mine, he's also retired now, retired as a colonel as well. He was working at the Pentagon. He called me up one day and said, "Hey, listen, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense that I work for here that covers African affairs, she's a retired ambassador." Of course, I know that. I'm just explaining for you guys. She's a retired ambassador, and the State Department's been trying to cut funding for Botswana for its training program that we give them. I know Botswana's important. I know you can get the right message across. Do you mind if we bring her over? I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I went to the Botswana Defense Force. I said, listen, usually it's the State Department that's trying to cut your money because they want you to send people on peacekeeping missions and get your soldiers killed rather than Americans. And you're not stupid like that. I said, but so usually it's the State Department. But now we have a situation of an ambassador who works in the Department of Defense who used to be an ambassador in the State Department. So she is trying to change the DoD to cut your funding. I said, we really need to put a good show on for her and show her what the Botswana Defense Force is doing. So we flew up to the north of the country and we went to Chobe and we took her out on an anti-poaching operation, and she went to a base camp where the BDF was based, and they went through how they track the poachers and what happens if they get in a firefight and all. And she was really impressed. But one of the things we promised her is she'd see amazing wildlife up on the river. So we went up on the river and we're driving along and it just starts a torrential downpour. You think about Botswana, you don't think of rain, but we just got soaked like it's KZN in a rainy season or something like that, right? It's crazy. We're just completely drenched, and then it just all blows away and there's no animals. And we're getting ready to turn around. I'm like, oh my God, I told her she was going to see elephants and lions and all this stuff. Not a single animal.
No.
Then all of a sudden, it's like somebody turned a switch on, and it's like everybody's like the Lion King. They all decided to show up at the same time on the river.
Oh, wow.
And we had hippos.
Oh, that's amazing.
Dozens of hippos come out there. There were elephants that came down. There were hemsbok, all kinds of things. They just out of nowhere. She was amazed with it. So I'm thinking, this has been an amazing visit. She's not going to cut the funding for the Botswana Defense Force, but I'm never going to live this down because she didn't see any wildlife. And then she saw all the wildlife. So it's kind of cool.
What a
Wow.
roller coaster.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that would have been really sad if you didn't see something. We were in the just as we got in, it was I forgot what it's called now. It's north of the Kalahari, that desert that was there. I forgot what it's called now. But we were there as well, and we were driving up and down. We weren't seeing anything. But because we were on like rooftop tents, and that was an area where you couldn't stop, get out, whatever, we basically had to drive around the whole time. And we were in that area, and it was midday, it was hot, and we've like a whole day also seen nothing. And like in the afternoon, we're all tired. We're driving to where we're going to set up camp. And there was those three, I can't remember, it was cheetahs or something.
I saw them.
Yeah, and Cherie saw them, and she like, just stop.
Just had to say
And
that.
you saw the three sitting there, looking into the sunset. I wonder if it was cheetahs.
Yeah, it was
Cheetahs.
cheetahs.
That was so awesome. Yeah, we've seen the
We
best
saw one
wildlife.
lion just
did.
before we wanted to take a photo, and luckily we didn't, because it was right next to where the lion was. So yeah, that would have been.
Yeah. Some of the photos, the best photos we took was either early morning or late afternoon,
Cool.
early evening, because before the sun sets we had to be done.
But I
with
think we
eating,
should have
whatever.
had 2 cars, because once you set up camp, you can't really go anywhere because your tents are up and everything. So, you always want an extra vehicle to drive around with, and then your camp's already set up. That was
that
the
would be our
only
guidance
thing,
now to
yeah.
anybody that wants to go, because it's not that
Yeah.
expensive. To rent a 4x4 fully equipped with off-road gear and whatever,
Had a fridge
it's
in. It was
not
nice.
it's not that expensive. You're talking like 1,000 rand a day. 10 years ago, 1,000 rand a day for a fully off-road vehicle with all its paperwork. Basically, all we had to do was
We had a
fill it up.
satellite phone as well.
Satellite phone, everything. So two of those vehicles, and one of them equipped with tents, and the other one could just be all the other stuff. That would have been perfect for sightseeing. We would have had some more time for sightseeing.
Yeah.
Hey
That's
guys,
still one of the best trips.
I've got someone else going to come in, so some
cool.
people
Awesome.
stop being shy. So we got someone coming in just a moment. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, in case you're just tuning in, this is the Travel Channel. Our guests tonight are Yanni and Rhys van der Walt, world-renowned travelers throughout the Kalahari who've been sharing their experiences with us. So we'd like to thank Yanni and Rhys for their time. But seriously, guys, hey, thanks for calling in. It's really been a lot of fun.
Good. Thanks for
Awesome.
having us.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. We're going to catch the next person on here in just a minute. All right, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I got to hang up that call. Okay. All right, we're going to get our next guest in here in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Really turned into the Yanni. Okay. Oh, there he is. Okay. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, I can hear and see you.
Okay, let me
Can you
add.
hear me?
I can just fine. Let me add you to the stream here real quick. Okay. I hear some talking in the background. Is that my computer that you're hearing, or?
That's better.
There you go. Okay, here we go. Right. Okay, I'm gonna move things around now.
I see the lighting is a bit blurred here this side.
Yeah, your lighting's a little.
Very poor lighting here in the Western Cape.
In the Western Cape. All right, now where's mine? Okay, there's mine at. Okay, folks still with us there? Okay, good. All right, so who we got? Who's called in?
Yeah, it's Gerard.
See, that's why I let him say it, because I would say Gerhard.
Gerard, yeah.
I'd get it wrong because I'd be pronouncing it in German. Gerhard, welcome aboard. Good to have you tonight.
How's it, Colonel?
It's quite good. Thanks, appreciate it. So how are you tonight? What's going on, and what do you want to talk about?
Oh, well, we just basically want to hear what's your opinion about South Africa. See you guys are having trouble here in the US. We also saw something on Facebook tonight with regards to a question that the American, US, and South African United Front or something like that, the department asked some questions with regards to what's your opinion. Did the US give enough COVID funding for South Africa? So yeah, that was quite interesting to see on Facebook. Obviously, there was a lot of comments. So yeah.
Well, Gerhard, I'm gonna get that G right.
No, just call me G. Everybody in Wales.
It's sorry, man. I mean, everyone I've ever known in my life who's spelled their name that way has been a German, so it's Gerhard. So, but anyway, so I'll get used to it. But okay, so the U.S. gave upfront $8.4 million to South Africa for test kits and reagent and PPE and things like that. We did that right off the bat. So the U.S. government gave African countries, over 30 of them, $253 million in cash equivalents, which is something we don't normally do. These days, our assistance is normally given to third parties like NGOs and businesses that provide services that the government wants. Because we had bad experiences with corruption over the decades, so we changed our method about 20 years ago. So that's most of what we do. But in this case, this was direct cash infusions. And the $8.4 million seemed like helpful for South Africa, but then I saw that they spent 454 million rand to pay for Cuban doctors that you don't need in South Africa. So that's more than all the money we gave to South Africa. And then, of course, we also donated ventilators, and I have no idea how much they cost or how that worked, but I do know the ventilators arrived in South Africa. But unfortunately, this is kind of sad. When you get to the stage where you need a ventilator, it's too late for over 90% of the patients. If the damage is too grave and they're not going to survive. Not to disillusion people, but we want to save every life. So if you have to use 100 ventilators to save 9 people, that's fine in my book. But the point is that you want to avoid getting to that stage. So I don't know the other thing you're talking about, but we okay. Dan said, how much was U.S. supposed to give? We weren't supposed to give South Africa anything. We're under no obligation. We just did that because we do that. There's no obligation. No one says we have to give anybody anything. We just did that anyway.
Yeah. So exactly. Now the thing is, the US gave money to South Africa, and a lot of that money, I feel, well, my personal opinion is that okay, the US is giving money to the South African government, and basically that money is going into a bottomless pit. Well, that's my opinion. There's a lot of other South Africans that has the same opinion. Although we are not anti-American, actually I'm very pro-Trump. So that's basically what my thoughts are about the subject. So it would be interesting to see what other people also say about us.
Well, interesting enough here, so for instance, during the Talon Bezuidenhout administration, hang on, so people are telling me how to say Jehad correctly, so I'm going to get my my therapy Hemsbach here. So since it's got a similar G on the front of it, but I'm feeling little hostile workspace here. No, I'm just kidding. No, but so during the Mbeki regime or administration, of course, he famously blamed, he and his lunatic health minister, the former, star graduate of Moscow's medical school, blamed the HIV on poverty, of course, famously. And so they were refusing to even offer to give nevirapine to expectant mothers as they gave birth. And of course, at that time, nevirapine was effective in reducing the mother-to-child transmission during birth by 50%. Abbott Laboratories, full disclosure, longtime shareholder of Abbott Laboratories, about 30 years now, still a shareholder. But Abbott Laboratories has improved nevirapine over the years, and now it's over 90% effective, if I understand it. So, but he was refusing just because he's arrogant and he couldn't be bothered to deal with science. But the point is that the U.S. was giving money for HIV prevention, treatment, and care, and we give billions of dollars to South Africa all the time for this. We could stop. But the sad part about that is that I guarantee the ANC is not going to come up with that funding to take care of South Africans who are HIV positive. And it does affect the entire population. Some people don't think it does, but I know white South Africans who are HIV positive. So what do we do? We're kind of stuck morally. Do we help South Africans, or do we help South Africans and by extension we're enabling the ANC, which is actually what we're doing. But I mean, it's a tough situation if you want to help people. But I get your point about the aid and how it's being used and not being used. So yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know how many people think about this, and I don't know how they feel about the whole situation. But with regards to what's currently happening with the economic situation in South Africa, a lot of people is losing money, a lot of people is losing work. I really feel for those people. And as you said earlier, when you started the stream, as you said earlier, a lot of stuff is going to be downplayed by the ruling party in South Africa, and there's a lot of people that's going to suffer it. And I think the long-term effect of what has happened is going to be it's going to be felt along the way as we're going down the road. That's the main thing. That's the consensus.
No, I think you're spot on there. Den Work, I wouldn't say workman, I'd say werkman, but I'll probably get corrected on my Afrikaans by somebody. But Den Werkman says, yeah, it's okay. I don't mind, guys. I know I don't pronounce Afrikaans well. That's why I always tell people, ek praat nie Afrikaans nie. I understand it, but I need to spend about 3 months in the bush or the bosveld with a boer, and then I'll be set. I'll have it. But so Dan says, yeah, that's his point. People expect the West to bail out when things go wrong. First, they moan about the USA. That's exactly right. There's a situation now where the president of Nigeria, President Buhari, is defending the director of the African Development Bank, who's come under pressure because the U.S. is not happy about the fact that what we view as nepotism taking place, and him appointing people who are friends and relatives and that sort of thing to the African Development Bank. And it's not a Nigerian bank; it's for Africa. So the U.S. has objected, and they've laid out some claims out there. And so the president has come in to back it. What was interesting for me is on LinkedIn today, I saw half a dozen Black African financial experts who came in and agreed with my stance that we have a say in this. We fund the African Development Bank. We are essentially shareholders. So because people are like, well, the U.S. has no business in this. Yeah, but you want our money. So we have a say. We give you money. We have a say. It's not unreasonable. What do you think?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. It's not unreasonable, but proof is in the pudding, as they say, with regards to everything that's happening. With regards to economic standpoint of view, with what you said on LinkedIn, I don't really know a lot about that. I haven't delved into that as myself, but I just see problems for us here. That's the main thing. You really ask a technical question. It's a bit difficult to apply myself if I can't see you on the screen here, and I'm trying to watch the phone over here. And I see that you've got some comments from Jack Sparrows that you want some help with an AR. So I think he's meaning an AR rifle.
I'm pretty sure that's what he means. He wants us to provide rifles to the Boers. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. No. But it will be interesting. Can I take a comment here if you don't mind?
No, please do. Go ahead. Since you saw it, that's fine.
Well, I see Chris here. He's asking. He knows of a couple of businesses that also already closed permanently in Boksburg, Pietermaritzburg, and Durban, which is very sad to see because Boksburg is a big hub. It's close to Johannesburg Airport.
Yeah.
And Grant Rothman says you're speaking Afrikaans. And I see I've got a lag here on my computer or on my phone actually with regards to Skype. So I think I need to do something with regards to that to get myself a live stream also like you. But with regards to what you've said with the money lending in Nigeria and that, what do you exactly imply with that?
What do I mean by it?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, the African Development Bank is a multilateral institution that's supposed to lend money to African governments for development, primarily for projects, infrastructure, things like that, economic enhancement programs. The U.S. is one of the folks who provides funding for it. So the argument was that there were Nigerians who, their ego was getting in the way, saying, well, the U.S. has no say in this. Who do they think they are, commenting on the director of the African Development Bank? Now, if the director of the African Development Bank had been a Botswana or a Namibian, nobody in Nigeria would have said squat about it. That's so. My issue here is that's one issue. The second issue is that we are providing funding to it, and we have a say in it, based on the way it's set up. So it's simply my government exercising its rights under the way the system's set up. And if people don't like that, they don't have to borrow money from the African Development Bank. But of course, then they'll say they have to go to the World Bank and so on. It's particularly frustrating because people will whine about things, and then when COVID-19 started, the lockdowns in Africa, within minutes before they even did the lockdown in most of Africa, we had dozens of African finance ministers meeting in Addis and then demanding, not asking, but demanding for debt relief without even having any idea of the impact on their economy. No discussion of how much. They just want all their debt relief. They're like, we need debt relief. We need money. And they haven't even done any financial look into this. And then at the same time, they criticize the U.S., many of the same people, for the things we do and don't do in Africa. Look, you can't blame us and then demand help from us. If you're going to blame us, then why should we give you anything, or why should we help you? We do because it's in a bigger strategic interest, and they know that. That's why they run their mouths for domestic purposes, to get attention and point fingers at the evil person to the side whom they later take money from. So it's just frustrating.
Yeah, I can see from a US point of view that is frustrating. I actually wanted to know, what do you think if the US places sanctions on South Africa as a whole? That's a very, very serious question that I'm saying is, with regards to the world outside, they can see actually what is happening in South Africa. And I can tell you, I'm not one, but I'm one of many that is frustrated with regards to what's going on. And we actually would rather say, listen, place sanctions on South Africa so this BS actually ends.
Well, I think that's a great question, Gerhard. So let me try to address it this way. Yeah. So let me try to address it this way. A lot hinges on what happens in November. If Trump wins, it can go one direction. If Trump doesn't win, then it's not going to go at all towards sanctions. If Trump wins and for some reason the U.S. Congress and Trump place sanctions in South Africa, a lot of the leftists and progressives that are running governments around the world now will simply ignore that. And they'll just say Trump's just being an arrogant, xenophobic, racist cowboy. And so they'll have no effect. Beyond the U.S. They'll have an effect from the U.S. And we have about $20 billion of annual trade two-way between South Africa and the U.S. That's about a third of our total Africa trade. It's pretty significant now. It used to be much smaller. But what will happen, regardless of who's president, unless the laws change, and that's unlikely, is that because of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, that's, for those who don't know, I'll tell the audience, that's a piece of legislation that started in 2000. The Clinton administration, Clinton signed it before he left office. It gives preferential trade status beyond even preferential trade status. Basically, there's no tariffs on certain goods and services from countries that meet governance standards. In other words, you have to respect property rights. Expropriation, hang on. Property rights, you have to have democratic elections, you have to spend money on health care and education, primary education, stuff like that. So the whole series of things have to be met. There are over 30 countries in Africa that qualify for it, about 38 or 30, 37, 38 right now. And what it does is it started then, and then Bush came in, it was renewed by Congress, and they increased the number of goods and services from like 1,600 to 5,700 to 7,800. So there's like 8,000 or so goods and services that Africans from these countries can send to the United States with no duty. So for instance, we import BMW parts from South Africa. We have BMWs manufactured in America, in Alabama, I think it is. They make them in Mississippi. I think it's Alabama. So we make BMWs in America, the SUVs and stuff like that, the X5. They're made in the U.S. A lot of the parts come from South Africa. Now, why is that? Because they make them in Germany. Yeah, but in Germany, the labor costs are off the charts, and the Germans also have to pay tariff. I think they pay 2 or 4% tariff, something like that, to bring their goods into America. It's not punitive. That's just a normal tariff, country-to-country trade. But South Africa pays no tariff. So you have an artificial advantage in shipping your goods. You want to ship Amarula here? There's no tariff on it. We can buy, you ship South African wine, there's no tariffs on it. So it gives you an advantage over other producers. And that advantage is public law. If South Africa passes a constitutional amendment that approves expropriation without compensation, instantly that trade is not stopped, but tariffs are slapped on it. Regardless of who the president is, regardless of whatever actions they ever take, that's what's going to happen. Yep. Ronaldo. I didn't know Ronaldo was on. Somebody said they're just coming for Ronaldo's stream. I didn't know that. Anyway, yeah, so whatever happens politically, that's the law. And so that's going to affect $20 billion of trade right there. Given how badly the ANC has used macroeconomic policies to manage the economy in South Africa, that will have a severe impact on South Africa's economy. Any loss like that in the current situation is going to hurt. $20 billion is nothing to shake your head at. It's a lot more than all the relief packages the government's put together. So that's annual too. So that's going to have a big impact. But so far as sanctions, that's a tough one to call because it depends who controls Congress, the House and Senate, who the president is. And even if Trump had the House and Senate, I still think it'll be a hard sell unless suddenly we have refugees trying to flee and get to Namibia or Botswana and escape violence and stuff like that. If that happens, then it's a whole different ballgame. But I mean, if it's just a slow frog boiling in the pot sort of thing, I don't see sanctions coming anytime soon. The problem,
which is currently happening. Yeah, which is currently happening.
Right,
the frog boiling.
Right, but the problem, G, is this: is that the world sees South Africa as if it's the 27th of April, 1994. It's the Rainbow Nation. Everybody's getting along. The ANC is a bunch of Democrats who just want to rule a market-based economy, a multicultural society. No, nonsense. We've seen the ANC for what it is now. There's nothing I can come up with to defend any of their policies. There was a time that some of their policies made some sense, but it's clear that there's something else going on here. So anyway, sanctions, the frog boiling, I don't expect to see them. It'll be too late by the time they come into place. I mean, the sad part about this is that South Africa has lost probably about 2 or 3 million of its citizens, its most productive citizens. Not that the ones there aren't productive, but some of its best talent is in California. It's in Canary Wharf. It's in New Zealand. It's in Perth in Australia. And that's a tragedy for South Africa. And a lot of people are like, well, it's just the Afrikaners. No, it's not. It's a lot of South Africans. Go to Wellington. There's a lot of coloreds there from South Africa because they're hot full too. They've had enough of this nonsense. And that's years ago. They've already been immigrating to New Zealand as soon as they get in. And this is really sad for South Africa. But anyway, that's just kind of where I'm coming from.
So here comes a question. It's just a question for everybody that's on here. Why is there nobody willing to make a stand with regard or standing up against this tyranny that's going on in South Africa? Why does the South African people, why do they not stand up? Why do they keep silent? Everybody's keeping silent. We only see massacres or stuff, people shooting in the streets, taking money out of vans, and optochten, as we say it, or what do you say in English, picketing. But you don't see anybody that is actually good, that's standing up, trying to make the voice heard. That's the biggest question that I've got for everybody that's listening, actually, is that there's nobody willing to say it out loud and say, listen, enough is enough. We've got all these other AfriForum, we've got the different political parties, the DA, the yippity. And actually the people are gutful. That's basically what's happening, but nobody is standing up because they want to abide by the international rules that's governing us. We can peacefully protest this, but nobody's doing anything. Do you understand what I'm saying, Chris?
No, I get where you're coming from. And the other thing, too, is a lot of South Africans seem to think that people are going to swoop in and save them, that Donald Trump's going to save them or the West is going to save them. And I'm not talking to white South Africans or Afrikaners. I'm talking to South Africans when I say this. The world's not going to save South Africa. It's not. It's going to be too late when the world wakes up and it decides to do some sort of intervention. If that were ever to happen, it's just not going to happen. So South Africans have to save themselves. However they do that, whether it's it's interesting because Bok van Blerk, of course that's not his real name, but in Bok van Blerk, he of course the song was written for Afrikaners, the Delare, but really South Africa needs a Delare. The entire country needs a charismatic figure like that can rally South Africans to open their eyes. Because look, you have a significant portion of the white population that refuses to believe the things that are going on now too. They just, some of the liberal whites are like, no, the government, no, nonsense. The government,
they take it on the chin.
Yeah, the government. Okay, you've got these large corporations like Truworths that are in collusion and league with the government. I mean, when the Minister of No Trade, Abraham Patel, meets with Truworths, and Truworths comes out of it and says, oh, no, the minister's guidance was wonderful. It was really spot on. We think it's good guidance. What, that you can't buy bikinis? What, the Minister of No Trade, the Minister of No Trade needs to find a new affectation because clearly he doesn't understand how business works and how people have to make money. And what does banning the sale of bikinis have to do with the spread of anyway, people don't just wear bikinis at the beach, People wear them in their hot tubs and, wear them around their house. They sunbathe in them. Anyway, yeah, it's just it's very frustrating for me from the outside. So I can't imagine. Well, I can't imagine what it's like for some folks on the inside, so to speak. Christo says he mentioned in Saudi as well. Yeah, there's a lot of South Africans everywhere, guys. Argentina, Saudi Arabia, France has a buttload, a ton of Afrikaners who are up there working in the energy industry and other things. Let's see what else we got here. Also send engine filters, U.S. and Canada. Yeah, okay, thank you. And U.S. government hogtied by Congress. They do not acknowledge farm murders. Well, listen, can you blame Congress? I mean, your president spoke in front of the General Assembly of the United Nations and said there are no farm murders in South Africa. He lied. I mean, I'm not embellishing. You can't accuse me of hate speech for that. That's a fact. We just had a farmer murdered on the 1st of June. I mean, how can you ever? That'd be like me saying that the police have never murdered any black Americans. That's ludicrous. Of course, black Americans have died in police custody. So have whites and Asians. It happens. It's terrible. It shouldn't happen, but it does happen. But to have a president of a country go in front of the General Assembly of the United Nations and say, no, this is just nonsense. There are no farm murders. That shows he's not serious. He's a bigger buffoon than Jacob Zuma was. At least Jacob Zuma appreciated ethnic identity and met with different ethnic communities. Now, he's a heck of a thief, but he's not a very good thief. But he's acting like a bigger buffoon, and he's getting away with it. And why? If you look at the coverage of the lockdown in South Africa in the press around the world, and I read the press from around the world. I read it in French. I read it in German. I do my best to read it in Afrikaans, but they all got paywalls now, so that's getting more difficult. And I read Australian newspapers. I read Canadian, U.S., Brit, anyway, all over, Germany. And if you watch the press, it's sycophantic, bootlicking from the media saying South Africa has done an amazing job with the lockdown. They're an example for the world on how to address this. Are you serious? Are you serious? They have collapsed the economy. Society is on the verge of civil war in South Africa. I don't think I'm embellishing by much there. Now everybody's liquored up, everybody's pissed now, so it's probably tamped down for the next couple of weeks. But you go back to May 31st, and things were pretty tense in a lot of the country. And it gets to the point now where people are just ignoring it. But saying that the government has handled it well, the only thing I can say about this positive is that they were decisive early on and they took quick action. That's a fair argument. But the tobacco ban, the ludicrous 3 hours of exercise, arresting people, turning people into criminals, it's just, anyway, that's enough.
Yeah, no, it's very true what you're saying. That's very true what you're saying, Chris. I know a lot of people is grateful. I can see that Bernard Kearney says all you have to work is the word, cock. I don't want to really say that out loud, but I just did. And Sean Forskank, he says we need to build masks, but for some reason the attraction is not there. The attraction is not going to be there if anybody is going to do anything about it. So somebody needs to stand up. So I know a lot of people, I know a lot of organizations, everybody has their own opinion, but they are too afraid to stand up. Reason is being they are afraid to be labeled. That's the main thing. I think they are afraid to be labeled.
Well, absolutely.
That's the main thing.
No, I think that's absolutely right. And the same sort of thing happens here. Look at this white liberal guilt of people taking a knee here in America now and raising their hands up. Have you seen this imagery of white Americans? Some sort of collective guilt for something someone else did. I've never abused anybody. Yeah. I've treated people fairly. I've never unjustly treated anybody in my life. And I've never profited unfairly from anybody. So, futsek. To hell with you people. That's nonsense. And
exactly.
Everything is binary with these people. So if you think that law and order is appropriate, then you're clearly a racist and you don't care about George Floyd. No, what happened to George Floyd is atrocious. It never should have happened. Somebody should pay a harsh penalty for it, and there should be something done about the Minneapolis Police Department to find out why this nonsense is taking place. But that doesn't mean that 977,000 police officers and law enforcement officers across this country are like that guy that did that. And also, there's a lot more stuff coming out. It also doesn't justify rioting by leftist organizations that are essentially committing terrorism in this country. So, it's not a binary thing. You can have empathy, you can disagree with what happened to George Floyd, and you can support him. And you can also be for the rule of law and for arresting people for violating. These people out there violating COVID-19 restrictions, and there's no sanctions on them. Yet governors are trying to arrest law-abiding citizens who are lawfully carrying arms in open carry, as they're allowed to do because they have a license for it, keeping their social distance, carrying signs, complaining about the government lockdown, destroying their homes or businesses and their employees' lives. And they're painted as horrible people. And it reminds me of a couple years ago in South Africa when you had the big, all the cars, people wore the black shirts for the farm murders. They went out on the highway, on the motorway, and you had these long lines. And I saw lots of white South Africans and a lot of coloreds too, and some black South Africans, not a lot, but some. But they were painted as some fringe lunatic, and all they were doing was trying to draw attention to the situation in the rural areas of South Africa where farmers were being brutally murdered and farm workers. And from the outside, I didn't see it as a racial thing. I saw there's colored people there, there's a few black people there, but people are afraid of being labeled all over the world. I've been called all kinds of nasty things on LinkedIn. I'm not any of those things. So, no, seriously, I had the temerity a couple of years, right? You see my LinkedIn. A couple of years ago, I had the temerity when someone has a business on there. She posted a link about a white South African when Winnie Mandela passed away. And the white South African did a video, and she posted on LinkedIn and said, "What's wrong with these people insulting Mama Africa?" And so I went and watched the video, and the white South African's he was very calm. He wasn't disrespectful. And he said, "Listen, I don't understand why people are, prostrating themselves. The woman's very complicated. She's a convicted criminal under the apartheid government. She's a convicted criminal by the ANC because she stole from Parliament. She did some good things in her life, but, this people prostrate themselves." And I agree with him. So I went back to her site and I said, "Listen, I don't understand what you're upset about. The gentleman wasn't disrespectful. He wasn't dishonest. He didn't distort history. He just said the truth. She's a complicated person." And I said, what you have to understand is for people in the West, most people in the West didn't know who Nelson Mandela was. The guy's been in jail since 1963, after Rivonia. He disappeared from the face of the earth. Only South Africans know, and not even a lot of them knew. In the West, the face of the fight against apartheid, particularly from the 80s forward, from Soweto and so on, was Winnie Mandela. She was the one out in public. We saw her all the time. She was on TV toying all the time. She was the face of the resistance. So that's a person we knew. I said, so she's a complicated person. So I was attacked. Some guy, you can never talk to him. He's just a colonialist, white, racist, KKK. I'm like, what the hell is this nonsense? Anyway, so it's people just can't deal with reason because they can't get past this. Whether they're white or black, you have people. Same thing. I was on another channel on a stream and I said some things and people claimed I said something else completely different, and they looked at me like I was some kind of appeaser. And I may or may not be an appeaser, but I hadn't even broached the subject. I just used a word that was part of something else. So people get triggered on both sides unnecessarily, and I think that has a lot to do with people afraid to step forward. But South Africa needs, whether the person is a Zulu or Xhosa, an Afrikaner, but South Africa does need a Delare, somebody to inspire the nation, stand up against oppression, because that's what's going on. Do it legally, but do it forcefully with a force of personality. That's what the country needs. At least that's what I think.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think you're 100% right there. I see that Justina Hall, he says standing up to people in power in South Africa, then you get labeled as a racist.
Yeah.
I think he's referring to maybe to, just pardon the narrative, maybe a person of European descent may be labeled as a racist. I know that we are very much so labeled as racists. I don't know anybody of any color that has been claimed to be a racist, but I know that we are getting the narrative that we are racist because when we stand up, we speak our mind, and we are labeled as a racist. So I can see from his side, from Justina Hall, I understand what he's saying. Dan Werkman is asking, what about the Western Cape claiming independence? Do you know anything about that, Chris?
There's a lot of talk about that right now. I've been reticent to do a stream on that, but I am looking at a guest, some here in the very near future, someone that's involved in that, legally involved in that sort of movement. and I may do a stream on that because it seems to be a lot of interest in it. But my Saturday streams, this is a channel about Africa, so I've tried not to make it all about South Africa. The live streams, because this is kind of like a service for South Africa, but I do talk about the rest of Africa.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. But I do talk about other places, particularly Botswana and Namibia, but also, other places I've been across the continent when I do this, although there's been a strong South Africa bent. But the weekend ones I do, the regularly schedule, if you follow that, most of my guests have not been from South Africa. But I could bring that person on as a special feature. For 3 weeks in a row now, I've had a Friday special feature, which wasn't by design. I've had a guest come on. I had Willem Petzer on. I had Ronaldo on. And I'm going to have on Colin Robinson, who's a New Zealander, a Kiwi, to talk about military assistance in Africa this Friday. I got to be up at 2 o'clock in the morning because it's 6 o'clock p.m. for him and it's 10 a.m. for you guys in South Africa. So I'll inconvenience myself. And then next week, I have a slot open, so I might decide to do a special feature with that person. I'm just a couple people contacted me, and we're trying to make a connection now. Also, I think some folks early in the stream said that they had contacted Big Daddy Liberty and asked him to get in touch with me or me to get in touch with him. So apparently a lot of people want to see the two of us talk, so we'll see what happens. Let me address something that Justino Hall said here. So, like the mayor calling the Kifnis racist for making a satire video with the national anthem. Yeah, well, the problem is that the press allow people to get away with it. Instead of pointing out the obvious, okay, there's nothing racist in what the Kifnis did. Is it in bad form? Is it in bad taste? You could make that argument easily that it was disrespectful to the anthem, okay? But being disrespectful to the anthem is not racist. No more so than taking a knee at a National Football League game means you've done social justice because America's a racist country. That's nonsense. So you can argue that the Kifnis, that David Scott was disrespectful to the anthem. I'm not going to argue the merits of that. I've made my position clear. I felt uncomfortable, but I found it humorous. But I wouldn't have shared it on social media. I just would have laughed at it, and then because I take great pride in anthems. Anyway, so. But the thing is that the conflation of criticism with racism is what you have in South Africa, and you have the same thing here. It's utter nonsense. But it's to a degree here that's even worse, not worse, but even more hilarious than what you guys have. So, for instance, here we have people like Candace Owens, who's called racist, and she's attacked by white people in a cafe who throw water on her and hurl racial epithets at her, calling her a C word, not the female genitalia, but the short for a raccoon, that one, and calling her Uncle Tom and stuff like that. Their racist behavior, ranting at her and assaulting her in public spaces, which is a crime in and of itself. And they don't see the irony of that. They're just a bunch of fascists. So they'll call anybody a racist. It doesn't matter who you are if you don't support them. It's a dead word. It has virtually no meaning. The little boy who cried wolf too often is what's going on here. Racism is dead. Now, I'm not saying that there's no racism, where I'm saying the use of the term racism has no value. They've so undervalued it. They would know what a KKK person who wants to string people up and beat people up at night looks like, because they called everybody a racist. And it has no value anymore. In South Africa, I realize that's not the case yet, because the people that they're attacking primarily are a minority, so you're smaller in numbers and you're more dispersed, and it makes you an easier target to single out. But here they attack anybody, and there's more people that they're attacking than them. So it's really frustrating. The Kifnis was criticizing Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma for her asinine, brain-dead, stupid, moronic ban on tobacco products. And I hate cigarettes. People should know that. I don't care for cigarettes, but that's not my business if you smoke, as long as it's not my house or my car. Or at my restaurant. No, but seriously. He was criticizing that, and he did it in political satire to spoof her. Now, you can compare that to Trevor Noah, who in 2012 did a comedic stunt in which he mouthed all this silly stuff trying to be funny about the South African anthem and act like it was stupid. I found that to be disrespectful and insulting when he did it, but he was never criticized by Messina, who was a nobody in the ANC then. He wasn't even a mayor back then. So the hypocrisy, it's South Africans, if you're white, and even if you're white and Indian, you're going to be called a racist no matter what you say or do. So you might as well stand up for your principles. You might as well stand up for your principles, because you're going to be called racist. Expect it. You need to tell your children that you're going to be called a racist by moronic people who are either dishonest intellectually and will misuse the term, or they're too stupid to understand what a racist really is, and all they see. So you have a lot of people in the EFF in particular, but also in the ANC, if you're white, simply the fact that you're white makes you racist. But being a racist means you think one race is better than another and you act on that. How can that be a factual thing just looking at somebody because they're white? You have a lot of people that aren't white. They're mixed race. You can't tell. We had that phenomenon in America. People back in the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century who were mixed race would try to fit into white society. And a lot of them had white appearance and light skin, so they could slide in and out. I mean, listen, my appearance like this, I could have a grandparent that was black African. That's just the way DNA works. I don't, but I could. And I know people who look the same complexion as me, this pink color, red on this screen, like this, with this light hair, and they have a black grandparent. There's a guy on Crowder's show, his nickname is Quarter Black. He looks white as can be because he's got a black grandparent. Jet black grandparent. So they call him Quarter Black.
Wow.
1 quarter black. He gets his nickname. It's if someone else called him that, it wouldn't be that complimentary. But is he African American? Haley Steinfeld, the singer who sings with Halsey and all these other folks. She's played in movies. She has a black grandparent. You would never know the girl is black. She's black and Jewish. She looks very white to me. It's an utter nonsense, and these people are intellectually bankrupt. You're going to be. Is there a dog there or something? I sound like somebody sniffing. So you're going to be called racist in South Africa no matter what you do. So if you're going to be called names, you might as well stand up for what's right. That's my view on it.
Yeah.
It's easy for me to say. I'm not there.
No, well, it's like Brady Cook is saying. He says a lot of labels given are in knee-jerk responses as they have no ability to take part in a cordial debate. Oh no, that's not the one I saw. He says, actually, I'm not sure if the labeling is what scares me. The retaliation to a supposed label in the current dynamic frightens me. I have a family to care for, and so he is very right. There's elderly, there's young people, there's people that's frail, people in mental homes, that kind of thing. So, yes, if somebody makes a stand, they stand up like a De La Rey, as you say, then we have to think about what should or what will happen. That's the main thing.
No, well, that's two different things, though. But when I'm talking about standing up for your values, is don't change your life when you're right because someone's going to call you a name. They're going to call you a name anyway. Being that De La Rey is a very different situation. If you're going to be the Donald Trump and put yourself out there, you do put your family and your associates at risk. That's just the reality we live in the modern world with social media trolls and people doxing people. That's pathetic and sad, but that's the real world. I'm not encouraging South Africans to go out and make some stand on a corner. I'm not a racist. No, what I'm saying is that you're going to be called these names anyway. You have to accept that. That's morally wrong, but it's going to happen. So expect it to happen and just be prepared for it. Be calm about it when it happens. Be rational about it, even in the face of irrational behavior. Even in the face of irrational behavior. Otherwise, you're just going to be it's going to be miserable, and you're going to always feel under assault. And a lot of that you don't need to feel under assault, even if you are. So
Well, Chris, it's easy. It's just basically always have the high ground.
Yeah.
That's my main. The mentality you have to apply is just hold the high ground. The moral high ground is always the best. If you need to walk away, walk away. That's the main thing. At least try always to walk away. If you're cornered, then obviously when you're cornered, that's something else. And sadly, so many of us are cornered. And a lot of people lose their lives or they end up disfigured, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This does happen.
Well, what's going to happen is you have to be okay. So, not to spend a lot of time on the issue with the self-determination or the breaking away or that, but something about that. South Africans need to keep this in mind. Let's do a what if, okay? Because people are talking about maybe the Western Cape will break away. Let's say the Western Cape does break away. What do you think the impact on the other 3.4 million white South Africans in the rest of South Africa is going to be? You think
it's going to be crucial.
You don't think they're going to be targets and be attacked immediately?
No, exactly.
And with people claim so if you're going to do something like this, you can't just think about yourself. You have to think about others. Now, if let's say you wanted to break away for coloreds and whites, and the Western Cape was going to break away because most coloreds and whites lived in the Western Cape, which isn't the case, but let's say it was, then you'd have to be prepared for refugees and have a system in place to take people in, and that sort of thing. But I don't see the feasibility of it. I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I'm just saying that it's a lot more complicated than some people make it out to be. Well, we're just going to break away. Well, what, the Northern Cape? What, it's just going to be Orania? Orania is not breaking away. People always say that, but you get my point. There are white, black, Indian South Africans and colored South Africans who wouldn't want to be part of what's left of South Africa. They would want to come to the Western Cape. I guarantee you. I guarantee this. If the Western Cape say broke away tomorrow, you'd have 500,000 Kosa rock up on your doorstep within days as refugees trying to escape from South Africa. You want to bet?
No, definitely.
You want to bet?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
They'll leave the Eastern Cape, and the only one left there will be Ronaldo.
Action reaction. But that's really true what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's really more complicated.
We have to think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
We cannot just say, okay, listen, if we break away, that is what we're going to do. There is going to be a reaction towards the action that we take, and we need to see the bigger picture. That is the main point that everybody has to see. They shouldn't just decide to to do something. So if something should have happened, and now I'm going to sound like another group, if something should happen, then I think in a state of war, then maybe, then we break away as quickly as we can. Or otherwise, we use a diplomatic way to do it, to break away. But it's a lengthy discussion, and something like this is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take very careful negotiations with regards to this.
Well, and like I said, I may have someone. Oh, I was trying to use my laptop here while we're chatting, but it's a good thing I wasn't using my laptop because it lost the wireless connection. By the way, I've switched over my system. I'm on a LAN now. I'm just using the hardwire cable. That's why we've been able to talk without interruption. So that's some good news. But I was just trying to go over to my laptop while you were talking. But what I want to say is that it's well, I kind of go off track there, but it's the bigger picture is what people have to look at here, because there's a lot more at stake than not you. I'm not saying you, Gerhard, but it's a lot more at stake than your house in Simonstown, or in Franschhoek, or in whatever. It's a lot more at stake than that. There are a lot of South Africans that are affected by something like that. I don't know that it's a particularly wise idea. I'm not trying to comment on that. But if I do get this guest on, we'll go into depth, and I'll give that guest an opportunity to discuss this topic, because I know it's a topic of interest to a lot of South Africans, and not just white South Africans. It's a misnomer. People seem to think it's just white South Africans that are curious about this topic. It's not. It's a lot of South Africans.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can see that JP Rousseau, he says he's heartful of BBE, this government, the country, racism, just heartful. With regards to BBE, I can tell you now, it's difficult, it's hard. The minority, we ourselves, we are cutting each other in business just to get a deal. That's basically how it's going now, and people are climbing over each other just to survive. That's the main thing. That's actually the end result of BBE. Everybody's cutting everybody's throat. If you don't partner up, you're out. That's the main thing, and you end up in a squatter camp. And there's so many people that's ending up in squatter camps. It's unbelievable. As far as I go, I try and do proper business, and if I see something that's wrong, I just back out of it. But I can tell you now, very honestly, there's a lot of people, and a lot of these people here say, well, I can see and I can know some of them might be business owners. They might have experienced this firsthand as well.
Yeah. Well, what I'd like to say is, this sounds like a simplistic answer, and it is, but it isn't. But one thing I've noticed with a number of South African business owners, not all, but some, is they tend to get tunnel vision and focus in about, well, they can't do business with the government because they're not BEE certified to whatever level, and they don't want to partner because they're not give their business away, and they shouldn't have to. But they focus on the government. And I realize that some of the big companies that you're a subcontractor for oftentimes try to demand that you be BEE certified, even though you're not required to be, which pushes people out. So two things have to happen, and it's kind of like it's happening here in the States now with American-made products, which are making a comeback here because people are hot full of China too. So they really are, and this is before what's going on. Trump has really opened up a narrative that people need to be talking about for 20 years, and they're just getting around to it. Some of us have been talking about it, but most of the country hasn't. So doing business with other folks, that's why, this is a minor thing, and maybe it's never even turned business to people, but just making other folks in South Africa who can't do business with the government because of this nonsense macroeconomic policy aware of other businesses, like me promoting Bezuidenhout's thing on here, and also Jezelle as a musician, and then Shink Art, things like that. Yeah, find ways to network and do business where you can with others who are being discriminated against in that ecosphere. But beyond that, reach into the Saku market if you're in South Africa. Namibia is small, Botswana is small, but there's business there. And if you're in the Highveld or in Gauteng, Botswana's not far away. It's a market of over 2 million. There's stuff there. Zimbabwe, good luck with that one. You're not going to be able to do anything there. But my point is, you've got to look abroad. And if you have more resources, you're a little bit larger, you can look at things like, say, going to Rwanda or Mauritius, depending on your sector. If you want to go in banking, don't bother with Mauritius. You want textiles, don't bother. That's saturated. But there's other business opportunities. My point is that you're Africans. You're in Africa. And I know it's for business with 2 to 5 or 10 employees. That's crazy. But some companies we're talking about have 50, 100 employees, and they do business, and they can't do it abroad. So you just have to. That's not going to solve everybody's problems, but it's something that can help. It also gives you a cushion where you have exposure outside the country, so that you're not just entirely dependent on what happens inside the country. Well, let me get a final comment from you there. What do you want to say before we hang up? And then I'm going to play Jezelle, and we're going to go out because it's been a 2-hour stream. Still got a fair number of people in here, but I bet some people stay. But you need to go to bed, guys, if you're in South Africa. It's almost midnight. Get some rest.
Well, Colonel, thank you for the opportunity to have come onto your live stream, and I would like to encourage every South African listening tonight to take a knee and pray to God Almighty tonight for this country, not for the politics, but for themselves, the families, the loved ones, and take it from there. Turn to God turn back to God. That's the main priority. I know there's a lot of people that might not agree, but that's my opinion. Turn back to God, give it over to Him, and pray about it. And love your loved ones, make time for your loved ones. That's the crucial part, and always ensure that you are secure and safe.
All right, those are great words. Well, I'm going to drop you off here, Hud. Thanks for coming in with me. He's smiling because I didn't quite get it right. It's better though than Gerhard, I guess.
Now, call me G.
Call me
I'll come
G.
on again. I'll come on again if you want. Will that be all right?
No, that'll be all right. I'll do more call-in shows. This is just the first one, and it actually works. So, all right, G, thanks a lot. But now you're the notorious G, I guess. No, anyway, G, thanks for.
So.
You think so? Thanks for calling in. I'm going to drop him off, folks. Stay with me for a second. We're going to wrap up here. Final thoughts. But G, thanks a lot for being in here. Really appreciate it. I'm going to drop him. Okay. All right. So, folks, thanks a lot for tuning in. Really enjoyed it today, and we had a successful conversation with guest. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Tonight was really focused on South Africa with our callers coming in from South Africa. The first hour was the Yanni and Reese travel program. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed listening to their travels in Botswana and some of the places they've been and talking about South Africa. So thank them for that very much. Appreciate it. Maybe we can get some applause if anybody's left there for Yanni and for Reese. Thank you very much. And then the second hour with the notorious G, we talked about business issues and political issues in South Africa. So I think that was a really well-rounded discussion here. Yanni's still there. Yeah, it was awesome, Yanni. I really enjoyed you guys being in here. Thanks a lot. I'm going to close out now. Today is Wednesday, is it not? I'll do a stream tomorrow. Remember, I've got the scheduled stream on Friday, which is at a different time for those in Africa because I'm accommodating my guest who's coming from New Zealand. It's 6 p.m. for him, 10 o'clock for those in South Africa and Botswana, 9 o'clock in Namibia, London, and Abuja. And then on Saturday, I have my regular scheduled stream. And my regularly scheduled stream this Saturday is Jezelle with Johan, Yssel, her manager. And we'll be talking about her music career and perhaps a little bit about her. You get to know about her life and her interest. And that should be interesting. So folks could hopefully turn in with that. So what I'm going to do now is, what's this, Thursday by me, at least the end of the week? Okay. You're welcome, Reese. I really appreciate you guys being. I got a little bit of clapping there. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. 1010 says, if you get somebody on to talk about independence, please ask hard questions. Just simply so many people either attack them or just throw them easy softball questions. Okay. Yeah, okay. I can do that. But if you got some hard questions, send them to me in advance. And I put a thing on the community tab under my channel, which has where you can find my email address. There's a screen capture there, so it's easy to figure out. I know people were having trouble finding it, but it's not that hard. So find my email address on there. Send me an email if you've got questions, and I'll consider them for that. Also, we'll probably take calls, or we might take questions by then. People have been asked about the monetizing the channel. I might do that soon. I'm still debating it, but I will do it at some point. And if I do that, then if there's a super chat, if you want to, if you really got to get a point out. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in, folks. Really enjoyed it. So I'm going to close out the stream with music from Jezelle from her latest album, Fitland's Mensa. And coincidentally, this song, which I opened the show with, is also called Fitland's Mensa. I hope you enjoy it. It's amazing music. It's awesome. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Courtesy of Jezelle and Johan, this is free from them to you, and from me, from them and from me to you guys. So I hope you'll like this. I'm going to go ahead and close the show out, ladies and gentlemen. Have a pleasant evening. I might do some prepared videos tonight to talk about what's going on in Botswana and South Africa. We'll see. So if I do, watch for the premiere on those, and you guys have a pleasant evening. Enjoy this song from Jezelle. Fitland's Mensa, die Taal is in ons bloed. Met raad en saam, met lyding en hoop, verdriet en saam staan jy staan. Jy is altyd daar.
dit wat ons doen. Ons liefdes, ons vreugdes, ons plekke, ons thuisdes, tot daar waar ons reis, jy is daar. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Al verander straatname, al word helde laat val, ons is dit, stuur ons adem, ons kultuur, ons verhaal, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby, en waar jy is, sal jy dit kry, in Afrikaans vir ons mense. Ons is daarmee gebore, die taal waarvoor ons staan, dit vloei deur ons are, ons kinders praat het saam, dit sal altyd bestaan. Afrikaans is ons wese. Dis die taal waarin ons groet, die taal is in ons bloed, is Afrikaans, vir ons mense. En ek stuur vir jou 'n sein, met 'n boodskap daarby.